Hello and welcome to a special episode of Almost in Agreement. Again, AC's got a stupid job. He's always doing that. And Max wants to hang out with his wife more than he wants to hang out with us. But Sam and I are here, and we brought in our good friend Jamie the lawyer. You guys might remember from an episode in the semi-distant past. Was that a year ago?
It's been a while.
It's been a solid minute.
I'm back, bitches.
Yeah. So, anyway, so we're almost in agreement. Check us out. Get us an email at almostinagreement@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. You can go to our website, almostinagreement.com, and get all the episodes there. Or you can go to your favorite podcast provider and get the episodes there as well. While you're in these places, please like, share, friend, subscribe, retweet, whatever the doohickey is that helps, just helps spread the word a little more. So do us a favor so we get the word out. City races are coming up. almostinagreement.com/cityelections21 is my city race cheat sheet. Get you all the candidates, a little bit of information about them, as well as links to KGIS and the Election Commission so you know where you're supposed to go to vote and those kind of things. I don't know, lots going on, lots to talk about, and we're going to get started right now. Nailed that shit.
Hell yeah.
Fucking nailed it.
Perfect timing.
Sorry, Sam, I had you half muted.
Oh.
But, so, I don't know, you guys remember Lawyer Jamie was on when I was all flipping out incorrectly about the sheriff's office getting a drone. It turned out they were getting some repair shit for their helicopter fleet. But the Massey put forth in the state house or the state senate, I don't believe it ended up going through something that KPD asked her to use on KPD's drone usage. And so this is not the intent of why I brought Jamie on, but we were getting ready to start, and he asked what we want to talk about. And I was like, well, I had this ACLU, which kind of goes in line with some of the Fourth Amendment stuff we talked about way back when. And so I don't know, there's three major issues. So ACLU is trying to get Amelia Parker from the city, rather, they're working with Amelia Parker in the city to pass a resolution that will require the KPD essentially to ask permission of the city council to use some of these surveillance devices. So they can't just add a new thing to their catalog of surveillance equipment without it being discussed in city council. So that's the policy goal that ACLU is working on. And there are current things that KPD is doing that are particularly problematic for me, as well as the ACLU and Amelia Parker for that matter. And then it's how does this grow and go into the future? So the big ones right now that KPD has and is using right now is they have license plate scanners, they have their drone fleet, and then they also have an arrangement with Amazon for the Ring doorbell system. Which is, yeah.
A furrowed brow has emerged.
Yeah, and so, and every time I go through that list, I'm talking to people about it, I always go through the list, and I always start with that one, because that's the one that gets people real freaked out. As I understand it, it is not that Amazon is just handing access to KPD. It's, KPD is essentially, if an incident were to happen, KPD basically just emails somebody at Amazon and says, how many and who has a Ring system within a mile radius of this incident? And then KPD knows which doors to knock on and ask if they can have the footage. So there is an ask in there. And one of the questions I always have in that is that with the Ring system, you're not obligated to have the storage part of it, because we have a Ring system, and you can do you can just do it as live feed, so you can check in on stuff. You can do it as an alarm system, and then it'll text or call you, or however you set it up, email, if the alarm's going off, but you're not actually recording that footage. So it comes into an ownership question, because I would guess, I don't know this for a fact, but I would very strongly guess that Amazon holds that footage for a period of time, maybe not indefinitely, but I'd say when it goes onto their server, because it's always going onto their server, they're going to keep it for 15, 30, 60 days or something like that, would be my guess. And so if I don't own the footage, KPD comes and knocks on the door, and I say, well, I'd be happy to help if I could, but I don't have access to that. Can they go to Amazon and get it without my permission?
Well, one great question is, what does the contract say? When you buy a Ring system, does it say that you are waiving your right to your privacy to whatever has been recorded? And my guess would be, if it says that, and it probably does, I've never read it, haven't read it, nobody's read it, but it probably does, and if that's the case, then you're probably screwed, would be my guess.
Right. And so there's that part of it. The license plate scanner one is not so much that they have them, as far as like, hey, that license plate has something that is of interest to us. We need to check on what's going on here. Like that license plate's associated with a stolen vehicle. As an officer's cruising around town and his dash cam is constantly scanning license plate. Well, what it's actually doing is it's scanning every plate, obviously, but then it's stamping both time and location of where that license plate is right now, and it goes into a database that KVD has.
So they're collecting license plates and locations and just keeping them? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, indefinitely. I mean, I don't know what the time frame is for how long they keep it, but it's just constant. That dash cam is just constantly doing it all the time. Whenever they're cruising around, every car that has the dash cam system, it's constantly doing it. So every plate it sees, it takes that data, puts it in storage. So,
do you have a reasonable expectation of privacy on your license plate when you're rolling around town? I guess it'd be no, you don't. Now, as far as what they then do with that, I think that's going to raise some questions of, Fourth Amendment, et cetera. And that is, if we're collecting this and then we're then just running it without probable cause to see if we can find something, if we're just, going on a wild goose chase, that's probably a problem.
Which is essentially my understanding of what it is. It's like you drove over here tonight. If you passed a cop, they scanned your license plate and they tagged it, and it says your vehicle was right here at this time in the city of Knoxville.
Yeah. I know that there was a bill in the state, and I want to say it had to do with, as far as collection-wise, but I think they framed it more with road construction going on, and I guess, a police officer, state trooper being there that's just kind of there while construction's going on, and the camera catching plates and keeping that information, I'm assuming with the same kind of license plate recognition.
I didn't even think about that.
But I don't want to say they only kept it for 30 days. Was a part of that bill.
Right, the time frame,
they looked into that. They're like, well, how long is this keeping? And they're like, oh, well, they purge it after every 30 days. But they also kind of framed it in, what if we have an Amber Alert and we're trying to find, a certain vehicle that may have been passing by in the past, 14 days or whatever. Some people push back against the privacy part of it. They were like, well, in this case, it could help.
Right, but the question, the philosophical question,
it gets into the gray area of like how often is that going to help? Versus
does my right to privacy get superseded by somebody else's right to safety? I don't even know if that's the right way to phrase that.
Well, I mean, when it comes to reasonable expectation of privacy in that, or really anything in public, there's security cameras all around everywhere, whether it's government buildings or otherwise. They have the right to record you to see what's going on. Really, I mean, not that I like it, but that's the society we live in. But really, the legal heartburn that I would really start to have is if they're then taking what they've obtained, which in this case is your license plate, and then without probable cause or without a warrant, then start running your plate to determine do you have any outstanding warrants, do you have any outstanding parking tickets, whatever the case may be, because that part, at least my understanding is, and I'm no criminal law expert by any stretch of anyone's imagination, is that you can't do that without a warrant or probable cause. That would be crossing a line.
Oh, see, because that's the side that makes that I could rationalize away of it. Like I was like, yeah, I get it. It makes sense that if they're going to scan a plate and see if that's sort of. But I mean, I again, the whole process is gross to me. Obviously, and then the drone usage one, and it's another one. ACLU was kind of weird on it. Like their whole thing is like, their problem with drone usage is that it's not obvious. Like the sheriff's office has helicopters, and if they're doing surveillance with the helicopters, they're doing surveillance with the helicopters because it's obvious, because it's a fucking helicopter. Versus, these little drones that have high power cameras and stuff on them, you don't even notice that they're up there. Right. But I mean, depending on what, like you're in a big crowd of people doing stuff, moving around, hanging out. That little whine that is a drone is probably going to get drowned out by everything else. And so that was their pushback on that. And it's like they referenced some other communities that have like red light camera systems and stuff like that, and that there's obligation for them to post that they are there. And there's apparently like, I don't know what municipality, I can't remember what he referenced, but they have like a website and you can go and you can see what intersections have cameras on them.
A number of them have gone away.
And they're obligated to that.
There's not as many red light cameras as there used to be here in town.
Because nobody pays them.
Well, my understanding is you don't have to pay them. Nothing happens to you if you don't.
That's what I've kind of heard too, yeah.
That's why I've never paid mine. Nothing's ever happened to me.
I'll leave my personal, I don't know where the statute of limitations is, so I'm going to leave it alone.
I always pay fine.
So the drone question is kind of interesting. I don't think yet, and again, the law is always very slow to catch up to technology. I'm certainly not aware of a Supreme Court case. I think the dog may have done something to my hearing here, but in any event, there we go. That's better. That's the one too. So certainly there is, and not to my knowledge, I think I probably would know, there's no Supreme Court case that's come out on drone usage and the reasonable expectation of privacy. Where there's circuit court cases out there, there may be. I'm not aware of them, but that doesn't mean anything. But there are cases out there having to do with obviously aerial surveillance by more conventional aircraft, planes or helicopters. And there are obviously limitations on that without quoting it, basically is kind of what you said, Seth, that if you would reasonably know that the helicopter is up there and they're not, flying so low that they're essentially invading your, for lack of a better term, airspace, then they can do that without a warrant. But, they can't come down and hover 15 feet over your backyard, without a warrant or a probable cause. So where that line would be with a drone would be interesting because, again, as you said, the higher resolutions or the higher whatever the word is I'm looking for, the camera can zoom in, then it's probably going to be some sort of sliding scale. Where that slides, I don't know.
Yeah, and then the future one that's of concern that they mentioned is. KPD put in all their officers now have body cams that went in last year, and KPD doesn't have it yet, but it's been in conversation of facial recognition software as part of their body cam setup.
Interesting.
Which, according to ACLU, it's racist. Like it actually is racist. It's it functionally cannot differentiate people of color as well as it can white people. Just on a function standpoint, the software is legitimately racist.
A lot of its development, I guess, was not diversified in the development.
Right. And so, I don't know. It's just, again, it's one of those. I don't like that. This is a midpoint of moving a particular direction, and we started with nothing, and now we're at this, and then what's next? Where do we go from here? And then the other thing to me, and I've said this a couple times already, is that if this is what our lowly little KPD has with their budget, like reasonably, what do we actually think an FBI or a CIA or an ATF has at their disposal, and that they use warrantlessly, constantly, whenever they feel like it?
Well, another sort of interesting wrinkle to that too, because I do deal with law enforcement, both the body cams and the dash cams. Dash cams aren't usually quite as problematic, but can be. But the body cams in particular, the law enforcement agencies I have dealt with, the officer has to activate it, him or herself. It doesn't just come on. It doesn't stay on all the time. So that raises the question in our cases and just in general is, well, is it just being conveniently turned on and off by the law enforcement official depending on what he or she does or does not want to record?
Right.
So,
isn't there something with like the first 10, 15 seconds of when they're turning it on, it's not recording audio yet either?
I have heard that, and then also issues with, and I had this in a case, was an issue of the camera was rolling, but there's supposed to be sort of an obvious red or green light where you're supposed to see, okay, I'm being recorded, and that was covered up by a jacket. So,
because like the one case we had here in Knoxville that we actually got to see the body cams on, we had 3 officers and only one camera actually made it through the whole incident facing the correct direction. One didn't record anything. One fell off as soon as the scuffle started, and then we had the one from the actual shooter cop that actually made it through the whole thing, but it was still really hard to make heads or tails of what was going on.
Was that the school shooting?
Yeah, that was the Austin East kid.
Yeah, I've seen some cams that are almost like mounted like right up on the shoulder versus the large ones right there in the middle of the chest.
Yeah, I don't know, but again, this growing function of technology and how our law enforcement is using it, and how we're like, because again, like the weird one to me is like, it's like, is there any level of we're allowed to say no thank you as the governed, for lack of a better word? Is there any point in this where we're allowed to say, I'm not okay with this, my neighbors aren't okay with this, we as a community aren't okay with this, but KPD could just say, well, we want it, so... Because one of the problems that is occurring specifically from this one is Amelia wrote it up and presented it to the mayor's office, and they basically said that would be inappropriate with the way the charter's written, and KPD says they need it. That was the mayor's office's response.
To body cams, or
to what the ACLU was asking for policy wise, that anything KPD wants to use in the surveillance side, it needs to be approved through the city council.
Well, here's sort of the compounding problem of that is, one, we have elected officials that we elect, obviously, who are going to lean one way or the other on that. And then we have, at least at the state level, we have our elected judges who are going to lean one way or the other. Or what oftentimes happens, at least in my cases, because most of mine are in federal court, because we're dealing with constitutional and federal law issues, is we have our federal district judges. Well, what does that look like to actually get to where the sausage is made, and then these decisions are made? And that is, we elect senators, and then we elect a president, and then whenever a Supreme Court justice usually dies or occasionally decides they don't want to do it anymore, then a Supreme Court justice is going to be nominated by the president and approved by the Senate. And then that is ultimately where when the buck stops here of how far can these searches and seizures with this technology go. So you have just years of layers before you actually have one of these issues come before the court and that says no, yes or no. And how much input as a citizenry have we really had once you get to that point? And how many years has it been before you get the actual deciders, to use a Bushism, in place to make a decision as to whether this is okay or not?
Right.
It's a lot of levels removed.
Exactly. And it's just,
we definitely run into a lot of technological advances that the courts have had to try to catch up on.
For sure.
They're like, oh, we never thought about that.
Right. I mean, this system was designed to move slow because they don't, I mean, that was one of the founding fathers' intent, is they don't want it to be something where it's knee-jerk reaction and all of a sudden we have this big shift. We wanted to kind of have a little bit of a grind to it, so we're not.
I think it's more of that. I think technology is just compounded upon itself.
I mean, I agree, but I'm just saying that I'm not saying it's a knee-jerk reaction. I'm saying that the slowness of the system was intentional. That was the reason when they did it in the first place, and now we're seeing some of the, unforeseen consequences of that
they left
system.
The Constitution open-ended to two amendments,
right? But I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. I just think it's problematic that we can't. That at least as of right now, as I understand it, there is no functional pushback on any of these issues here locally.
A lot of people don't realize that is what's going on.
Right. But again, as I understand it, even if it was like a top issue on this election, like
a lot of it's framed in the guise of security.
I agree.
They're like, oh, well, if that's going to stop crime, I'm like, okay.
I agree that's the framing of it, and that's how it works. But my point is that even if the enough people were like, okay, I hear the safety argument here, but I disagree. I'm not okay with this. Do not do this.
Right. We
need to do something about this. It is a near impossible task, functionally, to do anything about it. We just deal with it, American.
That's the way it is. You can appeal it up to the Supreme Court, and we'll see you in a few years.
Right.
Very, very Orwellian.
Right, and you better have a big old bank sitting around to get you all the way up to the Supreme Court and do the process. And
sure.
But anyway, that's the ACLU one, at least as I understand it currently. So we're doing what we can.
Fight's a good fight.
So anyway, I don't know. That was the ACLU thing in a nutshell. Trying to think of what else is going on that I need a lawyer for.
Everything.
Well, yeah.
That's why we're here.
I mean...
Got the bathroom, not bathroom bill?
Nah, I don't care about that. It's stupid. The infrastructure bill going on right now, I've got a couple issues with.
Yeah.
I just don't like how they sneak so much shit into it. Like there's a Bitcoin, there's a cryptocurrency finance law that's page like 1,500 of this fucking thing that's way down in it, which is going to bring in
appease different Congress people.
I don't care.
I have to sign on to it. They're like, hey, you'll sign on to saying yes to this. What if we add this onto it?
Right.
I'm like, okay,
just say yes.
Then I'll vote yes.
Yeah, I don't like that. I wish they'd quit doing that. I wish it was
piggyback.
It was single issue bills. I don't care if they have to do 5,000 a year. If that's what that takes to get all the random shit, it annoys me. I mean, I was talking to Matt Shears last night. We were talking about it.
Earmarks. Earmarks.
Earmarks and pork fat or whatever they call it, pork fat or pork, just pork.
Just pork.
I was talking to Matt last night about it. He's like, "Well, they need to do something." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, they got to do something because they're not, the people aren't paying taxes." Oh man, that sucks. Stupid people trying not to pay taxes. That's dumb. So yeah, that's deep down in there. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we should have a tax-free system.
That'd be great.
I mean, we can
reap all the money from other places.
We can keep printing money like we do all the time anyway. What's the matter? My favorite rhetorical question is if printing money doesn't change, doesn't do any damage to the economy, then why do we pay taxes?
Why do you think that we pay taxes?
I'm
other
saying
than,
if we can
other than your malicious thought about it.
If we can, well, I mean, we've spent $2 trillion over the last 20 years rebuilding a country that failed miserably.
How does a government in your model way provide for itself?
Oh, we're going to the big model way? I don't know if I'm ready for all that.
I want to hear this.
You've asked this of us, of what rules and what not.
I mean, again, it's
would be our perfect government.
Well, I mean, we went up to what the 40s without a federal income tax.
I'm not sure when it was instituted. That sounds about right.
The 19-somethings. It was mid 20th century, but when they added the income tax, and it was supposed to be temporary. Like in the bill when they added it, this is a temporary tax to pay off war debt for all the World War II stuff. And then it just stayed and got bigger, more complicated, more complex. Then we had to, create the IRS to go out and chase you down when you don't pay it correctly. Which again is the dumbest thing. If the IRS isn't the best example of how stupid the federal government is, I've seen it as a joke a million times. It's like, hey, you owe us taxes. Okay, how much do I owe you? I don't know. You figure it out. And then, you figure it out and you send it to them. And if you're wrong, they'll tell you you're wrong. It's like, well, how do you know I'm wrong? Why didn't you just tell me what it was in the fucking first place? Why are you making me figure it out? I'm not a goddamn tax accountant.
You didn't send me a bill.
Yeah. But, I mean, the federal government operated off of what it was tariffs and import taxes and...
I guess like business tax.
Right, a whole bunch of stuff for decades. I mean, for half the time we've been a country, it did it.
Until we ran into world wars.
Right. And then we had to pay off the debt, which we still haven't paid off.
Sure.
So, what is the point of the income tax? What are we getting for it?
We had a debt before that. Sure we had a debt after like the Louisiana purchase. I doubt we had that much millions of dollars at that time.
We got a pretty good deal on that one.
We definitely did a hell of a deal. But at the same time, right after the Revolutionary War, I don't think we had that much monetary capital in which to buy that said land. I don't think we were able to give France a lump sum. But at that time, France was fighting a war, the Napoleonic Wars. So they were in need of money. So it was kind of like we needed land and they needed the money.
Looks like we win.
We got a hell of a deal on the land, yeah.
They got Napoleon, we got Louisiana. Looks like we win.
Yeah, we did.
Those bony parts.
I mean, they helped us out. They helped us out with the Revolutionary War and stuff too.
Oh, definitely. We would not have won that without France.
So anyway, I don't know. Again, the question is, what do we expect the federal government to do for us? And I acknowledge that some sort of tax system for useful functioning things that they do, it might be a logical way to go about it. But again, might be.
What is the other option?
I don't know. There could be. It could be.
I thought you were saying you're totally against taxes. Like, what other logical way do you have of?
No, I don't think I said I was totally against taxes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm totally against them adding a way to make sure that people that have found ways to get around taxes don't pay taxes. I'm cool with people figuring out how to beat the system.
You should be able to do it on the honor system.
I mean, that's kind of how it's set up, except it's not. That was the joke I just said. It's like, it's the honor system unless you're wrong, and then we'll lay the fucking hammer on you. But, I don't know. The question to me is like, where's the value? Like, I mean, even back in the day when we had Todd here, who was he was the only one running on raising county property tax. Right. Like, that was his whole thing. He's like, nobody else wants to do it, but blah, blah, blah. I think we need to raise it. And I said, okay, for what? And then he, gave some examples of some expenditures that he would want to do with that extra income. And I'm like, okay, I don't agree with you, but at least you have a reason, and I see the value in what you're trying to put in place. Okay, I'm down with that. But as we've talked about 1,000 times on this show, I can't fathom the value that we spend in income tax federally. It's not even close to what we spend and what we get for it. It's just not. And so, yeah, I'm okay with that thing getting as broken as possible, as many times as possible, and as many people avoiding paying federal taxes as possible.
They're listening.
I know.
Those will get redistributed. I mean, there's been talk of many years of
it gets redistributed to warlords in Afghanistan who fuck little boys and then run away when they're told they actually have to do the job that we hired them to do. Yeah. Those guys. That's where our tax money goes.
I'm sure they got a lot more than big businesses that were able to get kickback.
I mean, no, I'm not. Well, it's not an either or here. It's not a one or the other. You're right. You're right.
No, it sounds like you're giving the most gross example.
You're 100% correct. All the contracts with Halliburton and Boeing and all those things, those are fucked up too, and aren't worth it for me either. You want to throw out another example to make my first example bad? They're all bad. That's my point. Yes, there are things that have value, but for what we pay, what the value we actually get. Nothing about Afghanistan made us safer as a nation at any point during the whole fucking thing.
Yep, I'm not talking about just necessarily government contract.
Okay. So, yes, I acknowledge there are probably some things out there that the federal government does do that is valuable to me and you. But with the totality of spending and collection,
I agree,
versus their totality of value are...
For the most part, it's not in the optics of the general public. They're not realizing... They're not able to see that. They're like, oh, my roads are shitty. Like, that's not going to my roads.
Right. And again,
I'm not trying to justify it. I'm justifying part of the money spent.
Okay, and I will acknowledge again that yes, there are things that they do that does add value to our day-to-day lives. Yeah. Sometimes directly, like the bridge in Memphis, that one. No, that's an example of how they suck at it. Shit, I fucked up again.
Just like big businesses that are big to fail.
I thought that was Arkansas.
Banks are just large corporations that have lobbyists that lobby certain money to come back to them.
Absolutely.
As well as farmers, like big farmers that are getting back large chunks of money,
right? Or
because they either weren't able to grow or.
The current most fun and exciting one is Big Pharma on their
big pharmaceuticals.
Their rundown to make sure that they sell every single fucking vaccine they could possibly make.
What?
I mean, this is Big Pharma's. This is the biggest Big Pharma sales pitch ever to occur right now. We're already on booster shots.
Whatever. Big Pharma was Big Pharma before that.
Oh, okay. But that since they're capitalizing on a tragedy,
they're making so much more money now in this past year that they weren't making 10, 15 years ago.
I mean, they
weren't Big Pharma. They were just Pharma before that.
I would wager that
they're Big Pharma.
I'd wager that their profits are up this year. Yeah. I mean,
the three companies because there's not others.
Do what?
The two or three companies because there's not others.
I don't know. The joy is that they're not. You and I don't have to pay for it, so they're getting sold. It's easy. There's no the people that aren't getting vaccinated. It's not a money thing. which is usually one of the problems that Big Pharma has with getting their drugs out. Is it's a money thing. It's not a money thing anymore because Uncle Sam's paying for it. Well, you and I are paying for it, but same premise.
Sam's always paid for a portion of it.
Do it.
I said Uncle Sam's always paid for a portion.
Again, you throw these like winning statements out, like it's been this way, or other things happen similarly, like that invalidates my statement.
we subsidize certain parts of it. I mean, that's why most pharmaceutical companies are diversified. They got different divisions that before it's their R&D versus other things, or whether they're getting a Medicare contract or whatever.
Okay, I still I don't understand your pushback right now. I'm very confused. Like you're agreeing with me in a different way. You're I guess my general point in this whole last 10 minutes or whatever was that the federal government sucks at spending money.
I was pushed back on your bullshit of the COVID vaccine automatically being like their big breadwinner.
Okay. No, your pushback was they were always evil bad companies. They're just doing what evil bad companies do, which is what my kind of statement was in the first place. But since they're always that way, it's okay.
Push back your statement that this one thing has all of a sudden like made them money. Like no, they were making money hand over fist before that.
Again, I don't see why that changes anything about today. We're talking specifically about one now, and just because they've always been so. I'm
saying like A, they're not making money hand over fist over this vaccine, and B, they were already making money hand over fist. So then, therefore, your statement of them,
he's walking out.
Your statement of them making money hand over fist over the fucking vaccine is null and void.
It is not null and void. It is a fact.
I believe it is.
It is a real. It is a.
I believe it is. I believe what you're saying is so the fact stupid.
So the idea that they're always greedy profiteers.
Yeah.
Means that them being greedy profiteers on this one particular thing that's going on right now is okay.
Look at the Sacklers right now with their opioid settlement, where they basically said, we're not going to settle unless you basically make us immune to any other and further lawsuits against us. But they're also not saying they're not taking any kind of culpability.
I'll be over here drinking.
Okay. That's how that's how the listeners know it's a real show is when they hear the cracks of cans. That's what's going on.
We're keeping it real.
Hold on, let me settle in.
So anyway, that all started with we pay too much in taxes for not enough in return, and yes, big whatever is part of the problem, as our 20-year wars for nothing.
You think we pay too much in taxes?
Yes. How do I say it any different than I already have? If we got something significant for what we paid, then I'd say no, we don't pay too much taxes.
How much should we lower our taxes? If you think there should be any tax.
I mean, I would say at least I'd say a good start would be cutting it in half, if not into maybe 10%. Like federal
sales
budget
tax or general income tax.
I mean, we're talking federal, so it's income tax.
Okay, federal income
so
tax.
Personal income tax, not corporate tax, or both.
Oh, he wants to lower everything.
I mean, I don't understand business tax in the first place. Like both functionally and where the value comes in that, because it's really at the end of the day, it's going to be it's a tax on the consumer. If you're talking corporate taxes are it's a long tax on the consumer. It's just instead of coming directly out of your pocket, it's going to go into the price of the thing you buy from me because that's part of how I price my things because I include the taxes.
Well, I mean, maybe that's true. I guess in some industries, I know, obviously in the one I'm in, which is law, and I'm a personal or professional limited liability company. I am the same as the company, so I don't pass my own personal tax burden onto my client. So I mean, maybe in big corporate America when you have like real corporations, I suppose, but not in mom and pop, so to speak, just sole proprietorships and LLCs. That's just something I got to eat.
So if you so how do you set pricing for your hours? Your hours worked.
For my hours, it's what is a prevailing industry standard. I mean, in essence, for attorneys, at least in Tennessee, I'm sure it's probably true most other places as well. But we can only charge what is referred to as a reasonable fee for what we're doing, and there I can't remember how many factors as to what is reasonable. How long have you been practicing? How complicated is this? How much time is it going to take? How much time have you set aside from doing other stuff? And then what is sort of the prevailing rate in your community where you live? Those are kind of the biggies.
Okay.
So, what I look at is all those factors and say, okay, well, for me to do this and for it to make sense and to not be, gouging my clients, what do I need to charge? And after having done this, I can't even believe I'm saying this, 13 years, I kind of know in Knoxville, Tennessee, based off of the areas I practice, what is a reasonable rate, and that's what I charge. And at no point is there a consideration or factoring in of, well, how much of this am I going to have to pay for tax I need to add?
Do you factor in how much you pay for rent in your office?
Nope. Can't.
So you don't. You do. You're essentially you're betting on having enough clientele to cover the cost that it takes you to do the job.
Correct.
So you do factor those things in. It's just indirectly with this industry standard that you have. Because your pricing is not based on, you're not pricing it like I'm selling a widget where I have, X number of dollars in raw materials, X number of dollars in labor, X number of dollars in depreciation of the facilities, XYZ, where those all add up to the final number, and then you do my markup on top, and that's how I get to the cost of my final widgets. That would be the more industry, more of a production way of doing the same pricing, but you're doing it in the same sense. Because
I think it would be more
if you
like
had
a marketing scale of I've got my office on Gay Street, come down and see me at my nice law office.
Well, I mean, it really is more, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm good at what I do, and I know this is going to be particularly complicated or it's not. And, that factors into both what is the rate, and also, how much work can I take on at that rate. So, it really is one of those. Again, it's sort of like anything else in business. It's a gamble. I gamble that based off of my visibility and reputation in the community and the amount of time and work I expect to put into something, that the amount I'm charging, that I can charge, really, is going to cover my overhead and generate enough of a profit where it's worth doing it. So it's one of those things. It's one of those things where you can't really factor in the cost so much. You can control to a certain degree, the income, and then of course you want to always limit your costs. But it's not as simple as sort of a retail situation, which obviously Seth that's in his wheelhouse, is where he can say, okay, well my product, wholesale is going to cost this. I can control my overhead. And, I think this is how much people will pay for something. I mean, the
simple way to break this down is if you had a significant change in cost, whether it's the landlord changes rent on you, which I know there's legals on that or whatever, but just for simplification's sake, rent doubles. Your tax burden goes up. Your insurance requirements for your employees or something like that changes or something like that. At what point with those increased costs do you have to raise your per hour fee?
You don't, because first of all,
so then at what point do you stop practicing because it's no longer profitable?
When it becomes no longer profitable.
So you do. So that's my point. So you do. It does matter. Your tax burden, your insurance burden, your rent burden, all that stuff goes into your pricing. Because you have your pricing is set by the community. I get that part. But if your pricing can't cover the cost to do the job, you don't do the job anymore.
No, I don't think that's true, because it actually is the opposite, is because I know, based off of, again, the factors I identify, I know what I can charge. And assuming that I kind of have an idea of how many cases, clients, et cetera, I think I'm going to get throughout a given fiscal year, that I can handle X amount of cost. And that is the amount of cost I can handle, and that is the end. So I have to look at it that way. I know what I can charge, and then I'm going to have to control things like, do I bring on an additional employee? Do I change insurance, et cetera, et cetera? So it really is sort of the opposite way of what you're referring to, which I think is a little bit more the model in a traditional retail situation.
I don't disagree at all on that on that analysis, but my point is that there is a point where a shifting cost for you as a business will either require a change in pricing, which is unlikely with the way the industry works, or you will have to take on more cases to make up the difference. You'll have to figure out a way to make up that difference somehow, some way. And if it's taking on more cases, that's spreading out your time. You're not going to be as good as you could be for all your clients because you're adding to. I'm not saying that's the case, but that is the potential problem with adding more clients than you can handle, but you need more clients to pay the bills.
But ethically, you have to make sure that you can attribute as much time as you have to a case to be competent and that sort of thing.
Right.
So again, what you don't have in, for example, the traditional retail model is you don't have that governing ethical board that says you can do this, but you can't do that. And when it comes to costs, I think when it comes to at least a small law firm like mine, I can't say with these Uber firms and whatnot. I mean that's something that I'm very ignorant about. But I know in our small firm, costs aren't really going to change unless I decide they're going to change. It's for example, you want
a new, cooler office in a better part of town. You want more staff. You want... No, and again, I agree.
Well, you need more staff. Not that I want more staff. I'd rather have no staff. No offense to my staff. They're wonderful. But having employees as its own...
You're all fired on the podcast. You heard it here first.
Yeah, well, we were almost in agreement, but we weren't. But no. It's, obviously, as you know, anytime, no disrespect to any employee out there, but when you're a business owner and you hire your first employee, you're taking your baby, your business you started, and handing part of it to somebody else and saying, please don't fuck this up, please.
Yeah.
So having employees as an employer is scary. I mean, fortunately, I've been blessed to have some very, very good employees and certainly do at this point, but having employees is scary. Someone off topic, but in any event.
Okay. So anyway, that all started with taxes, corporate tax, whatever, income tax. How much should we be paying in income tax? So there's a whole sidebar on corporate taxes, which I didn't even want to go down. Perfect.
But yet here we are.
I love it. No, it's good. It's fun. It's fun chat. No, I mean, again, because I've asked this question 1,000 times on the show. We've gone over it many times. It's like we have our running joke. What is the one government agency that we actually feel like does a good job?
Federal courts.
That's not our running one.
Sorry.
That's and that may be true. And again, so the question would be like, how many districts are in the state of Tennessee?
3.
Okay, and how many judges?
I'm sorry, I'm asking particulars, but I'm getting to the long question of, like, how much does that cost to run the...
What numbers do you want him to tell you?
Well, I can start making stuff. Well, I mean, I know in the Eastern District, we have 5 district judges, and then we have a handful of magistrates, and then we have a handful of senior judges. I think the Middle District, I think, is a little bit bigger, and so is the Western District, if I recall correctly.
Which makes sense. You have Nashville and Memphis. Respectively.
Those in the know, what are the differences between a judge versus a magistrate?
Well, you have what are referred to as Article 3 judges, which I'm doing the best to put the audience to sleep by saying this. But thank you for the question. But Article 3 judges,
just out of my curiosity,
those are no, excellent question. Yeah. My nerd brain is so happy you asked. The district judges are Article 3 judges, and Article 3 referring to the Constitution. Those are the judges who are nominated by the president and then confirmed by the Senate. And there's a specific number in each district you can have. That number increases usually over time. And then magistrate judges, and if any of my magistrates are out there listening to this, I don't mean this offensively, of course, because I know you love me. The magistrate judges are sort of like assistant judges, so to speak. They are actually selected by the district judges, and they're hired for, I think it's 8-year terms, if I can recall correctly. And they handle all the stuff that, really, if we're being honest, the district judges would prefer not to handle, like discovery disputes and, I think in the criminal world, they handled some of the preliminary hearings and those sorts of things. But whereas the district judges, they handle the trials. They're the ones who schedule, what's going to happen in the lawsuit. They're the ones who, if there's a motion to have a case dismissed at some point during the life of a case. They're dealing with the sort of big issue, so to speak, and the magistrate judges are sort of doing all of the sort of day-to-day, really important kind of grind work, so to speak. So that really is the difference.
Gotcha.
So, and now you're feeling lame, right?
I do.
I thought it was interesting. New welcome audience for that.
At the initial analysis, I would have thought the magistrate was above the district judge.
No, other way around.
Okay, so but what we're getting at there is the cost involved. Like, I mean, obviously, I would assume you don't have these specific numbers of how much the Eastern District of Tennessee Federal Court.
A little bit, because we actually Magistrate Judge Bruce Guyton is retiring at the end of the year, so there was an announcement that went out sometime early this year because they were looking for applicants, of course, to replace him upon his retirement, and they referenced in there what the salary was. And if memory serves, I may have this a little bit wrong, but it was close to $200,000. It was maybe $190,000 a year.
And so we're looking at we were ballparking 5 actual judges and then a handful.
Well, we got five district judges in the Eastern District, and they're going to be higher than that. I mean,
right, for sure.
I don't know exactly what they are, but I would say it's above 200 and under 300. So you got 5 judges at that, and then magistrate judges. You have 1 in Greenville, 1 in Chattanooga, 2 in Chattanooga, 2 in Knoxville. So you have 5 and then 5. So that's 10, and then you have, I think we have 4 senior judges right now. And they're basically, I think, close to the rate of a district judge. So you're talking,
so real fast, we're looking at what, 12, 15, 17?
Somewhere in
17, $200,000-ish a year salaries just for the persons on top, because that's not counting clerks and other.
That's not counting the law clerks. That's not counting the court clerks, the courtroom deputies. Not counting any of the administrative folks.
Right, then the actual facilities and stuff like that as well. But I mean, again, just, quick math, 20 times 2 is 4
it's
mil.
A lot.
$4 mil a year for the main cast.
At least.
So round it up to 5, and then all the others add a couple more. Let's be painfully overestimate, hopefully painfully overestimate, and say Eastern District costs $15-20 million a year.
Would surprise me if it was at least that. Wouldn't surprise me.
And obviously, there's states like California are going to have more than 3 districts.
Sure. No, they have 3 districts. They have northern, southern, and central, I think.
But each of their districts are going to have more judges.
They have more judges for sure.
But I mean, so 20 million.
The federal judiciary is not cheap, but you also get what you pay for. Good things aren't cheap, and cheap things aren't good.
So just
a lot of things don't go up to a federal charge or a federal level offense.
Well, it depends on what it is. Again, if you're going to be in federal court, you either have a federal question, which is, whether it's a federal civil law or a federal criminal law,
right.
or the other way you get into federal court is on what's referred to as diversity jurisdiction. Again, I can hear the snoring as I'm saying this, but you have parties, at least I'm talking about civilly, you have parties who are from 2 different states, and you have more than $75,000 in controversy. It doesn't really matter what the issue is. That's referred to as diversity jurisdiction. So you have either original jurisdiction, federal question jurisdiction, or diversity. So then everything else, is a state issue.
So my quick math has that
goes to a federal issue. Yeah.
Low estimate.
It goes up to a federal issue at a certain point. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Or it's automatically a federal issue because it's a federal question.
Federal question, correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So my quick math said $3 billion a year on our base math.
Well, I went to law school because I can't do math, but that doesn't sound way off base.
And so again, and this is running off of our model times 3 times 50. So it's probably above that. We'll double it for fun. So $6 billion a year. So that's how many citizens do we have in this country?
350 million or so.
So
somewhere in there.
$50 a year per person to make the federal courts work.
Now, don't forget that they get a $400 filing fee every time you file a civil action.
Not including their own, not including their direct income,
which is not much.
Right, but I'm just saying, I could get on board with paying $50 a year to have a functional federal court system.
Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. It went up to $402 this year. Yeah.
There's somebody somewhere in the country that has a job off that $2.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But again, to the original point of all that, yeah, I'm down with $50 a year I could pay $50 a year to have a functioning federal court system.
Keep the court system going.
Yeah.
We thank you.
And
How much would you like to pay for roads?
I mean, that work, that are good, that don't fall into the river. Well, it didn't actually fall into the river, but it got close. I don't know. How much do we actually spend on roads a year?
Well, where we're going, we don't need roads.
That's a copyrighted quote, man. You can't say that shit in here.
We don't need dirt roads.
Are we paying royalties again?
Oh,
God
fuck.
We need to talk to a lawyer about that.
Yeah, we do.
I gotta go.
Not this one. He doesn't know shit about copyright law.
True story. I'm gonna take my beer and leave now.
Sure. I need a receipt for for your time.
Are you expensing this?
I was going to ask you, are you clocked in right now?
Are you taking this off your taxes, Seth?
No, I've.
Can we write
as of right now, the IRS considers this a hobby.
Oh, fantastic!
Can we write this off?
No, that's the problem. Like I've kept good records that if we ever actually file as a business.
No, that's what the audience says. Write this off.
Yeah.
I'll be here all night. Make sure and tip your server.
I thought that was one of the hotkeys, like,
no, I got applause.
That might have been the old system.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we have applause now.
Oh, I got applause.
Oh.
Fantastic.
There was a rim shot on one of them.
Yeah, I had some fun stuff, but I have the ones, the intro, outro, and then the production company. Yeah, my production company horn.
No, that's right.
That's the company I need to start, but I need clients for that too. But they'll be paying my taxes if I do it.
Hey, that's the way it should be.
I mean, at some level, again, for the whole point of that was that at some level, the end user is the one that pays the taxes on that. But, yeah. So, again, how much did you and I either pay out of pocket for, or did we go into further debt for the Afghanistan debacle? Like, how much did that cost? I mean, we know $2 trillion is the number that everybody's throwing around right now, but I don't know how accurate that $2 trillion number is, but I would assume it's at least that.
I'm going to ask a really stupid question.
And a good bit of that came back to the country, at least, because it was Halliburton and them, then they're top-level people that don't pay taxes.
Well, I'm going to ask a really stupid question because I'm the law guy and don't know all this geopolitical stuff. What was a worse bargain is 20 years in Afghanistan when arguably, at least maybe kind of sort of, there was a point, or whatever we spent in Iraq when there obviously was absolutely no point.
I mean, they're both. I don't think that there's I don't think there's a winner in the waste of time and money.
I'm sure there's a loser, though.
Yeah, me and you, and we're going to lose either way.
True story.
I mean, that's what it is. It's like there was no better way this was going to end than what we're watching right now. No, this is as good as it's ever going to be. And we knew this 5 years in. We knew this 10 years in. 10 years in is when Obama sent 100,000 more guys over there for a little bit just to surge to finish this thing off, and then 10 years later we're still not done.
Bush is sitting around laughing his ass off.
I love that Spider-Man meme. That's my favorite.
Right? Yeah. Look at me over here. While they're arguing over whether it's Biden or Trump's fault.
It's all four of their faults. I mean,
correct.
Biden gets the win. Biden gets the win for me because he actually finished the job.
True.
And in fairness, as much as I know you do not like him, Trump made it okay for Republicans to not like war. And that's part of what got this thing off the ground.
It pains me greatly.
I know it does.
To ever admit that wannabe dictator ever did anything correctly, but he did not. He managed to not actually get us in another prolonged war.
He didn't add a war, and he at least started the process of getting us out of Afghanistan.
Maybe not well, but he did.
And if you remember when he invited Taliban leadership, Taliban. Biden says it funny, and then I always get confused on what's the right way to say it.
I don't know the proper name.
Because Biden says Taliban, like it's really hard I when he says it. Anyway,
Taliban.
Trump invited him to Camp David to sit down and have some talks and try to figure out how to finish this
September 11th.
And the media went apeshit.
Because it was September 11th.
It was the date he was going to do his thing?
Yeah, thereabouts, yeah.
Oh.
As I recall.
Well, I mean, Biden's adjustment to Trump's plan was to finish on September 11th.
Yeah, that was... Yeah.
Which is still technically the process we're on. It's just we figured we'd actually have a few weeks of, hey, we're out of here before the Taliban took over the rest of the country. But
20th anniversary, yeah.
Yeah. But that was the plan, at least. But either way, Trump got just railed for wanting to have the conversation on how to end this thing with the enemy. It's like, this is what those are what those conversations are. You don't get to have a peace talk conversation where you're not allowing the bad guy to sit at the table with you. That's what a peace talk is. You're the bad guy. Your team has killed people from my team, but we need to talk this out so we don't have more people killed.
Of all the low-hanging fruit to give Trump shit about, I don't think that should be one of them.
Well, like Matt and I were talking last night, there's I could pull it up. I mean, I will pull it up so you guys can see it, so I don't misquote. But we're talking last night. It's like
he's still been doing a bunch of talk and saying all sorts of crazy shit.
The the handful of times where major corporate media was on board with things that Trump was doing, not including Fox News, obviously, was no, wrong one.
I like what you've done to the place.
Appreciate it. That's his house, but whatever.
Oh, nice.
Where the fuck to go? Yeah, there's
looks bush painting.
Yeah, there's the bush painting. That was hilarious. Cracks me up.
He looks so relaxed.
There you go. The second one on these two is the other thing that reminds me of is how two of Trump's only good news cycles were airstrikes in Syria and killing Soleimani. So it's just, I mean, essentially he's talking about how terrible the media is on the war conversation. Like as 2 weeks ago when we first left, I made mention late in one of our shows. I was like, is anybody else noticing how many articles are about how terrible this exit is and how terrible it's going to be for the people of Afghanistan now that we're gone? And that's all the news has been since then. That's all the news is talking about, is how bad an idea this was. And I mean, again, not being a Biden fan for much of anything, I'm
it happened in Iraq.
Kicking ass, taking names. I like it.
We decided to start pulling out of Iraq. We knew it was going to be a clusterfuck. Partly because we went in there as the main force. We didn't do it unilaterally.
But again, my point is not about why we started, why we did it. The real conversation I'm poking at here is, why does major media, the establishment media, whatever you want to call it, why are they so pro-war?
Because war sells.
And Boeing advertises.
Sure.
Why do you think they're pro-war?
I mean, they're anti-ending a war. That's all they've been doing for the last 2 or 3 weeks. That's the point of this guy's statement, is that he's talking about how is it not a little frightening how, because it's not like women weren't getting killed in Afghanistan or Yemen or half the other countries over there every fucking day anyway. All of a sudden we care about Middle Eastern lives. No, the media could be running this story every day, all day, from all over that region. And if it's our job on this planet to go around the world and enforce, safety for women and girls all over the planet, if that's the job that the U.S. military is supposed to do, I missed that memo.
Team America, World Police.
Right. Is that what we want them to be? That's what the media wants us to be? Because again, you're right. I mean,
that's partly what we put ourselves into.
I have to, if we're going to talk about the hypocrisy of the media, I'm going to have to go ahead and throw the Europeans in there as well. And I love Europe probably more than most Americans do. But the fact that those in power in Europe are sitting over, with their mouths aghast and saying, "Oh my gosh, the Americans have pulled out, and now, this is so terrible," and everything. Where the fuck were you?
Right,
you fucking left.
Put your money and your kids in there, and then we'll talk about it.
I didn't see the Brits or the French or the Germans saying, "No, hold my beer, we got this."
Right.
Well, fuck you.
They've had a very small presence, because I know I've seen Boris Johnson talking about he's trying to get the British pretty much in the same situation we are, where they're trying to get the British citizens out of Afghanistan, and they've sent troops there, or they've got troops there that are trying to protect British citizens trying to leave.
So if they didn't want to see the country collapse, you guys take over. Let us go home for a while and let us sit out for a bit. You guys take this. So don't sit back and then bitch, piss, whine, and moan when we leave, when you guys didn't want to do it either.
Yeah, I don't think there's no other way this is going to happen.
No.
Than the way it's happening. But again, the
question
is,
Band-Aid off.
Right, but the question, my question still is, why is our media so? I mean, again, I don't disagree that if it bleeds, it leads. And then you have my more conspiratorial side of it. It's like, why the fuck does Boeing advertise on NBC Nightly News? Because I don't think anybody sitting at home after a day at work just catching up on the world is going to be buying a jet.
Well, what did Lyndon Johnson say about beware of the military-industrial complex?
That was Eisenhower.
Oh shit, you're right.
Ha.
Oh, look, a Republican. Okay, he wasn't that bad. You're right. Absolutely, I misspoke.
But yes, correct. I mean, and it's clear as day. Like it's not a popular, like us leaving Afghanistan is a very popular issue among the constituency. But the media is trying to make it unpopular. They're trying to get us to go, wait a second, no, we need to go back there and protect those people. We need to save those lives.
Nope, sure don't.
Right, and that's what I find really creepy about it. I mean, it's propaganda at its best. It's trying to change our hearts and minds on an issue that we're pretty clear about. We've been pretty clear about for years. Matt made a good point last night too. It's like, how many times did you forget we were in a war over the last 20 years?
All right.
Like how many times did you just kind of go?
All right, but at the same time, it's been like a focal point, I guess, of American conflict. We know of Iraq. We know of Afghanistan. We don't know of all the other conflicts that are going on that the U.S. hasn't involved themselves in, but these are the major conflicts worldwide that the U.S. has inserted themselves into.
Well, I mean, you got Yemen right now with the Saudis that we fund, that we help pay for.
Right, but we haven't had that much involvement.
Our boots aren't on the ground. It's
just money.
It's just our money.
Right.
So here is...
Hey, that's a good way to bring it back to the beginning. Anyway, so...
Oh, well, I mean, I'm sure we can go ahead and bring it all the way back to taxes again if you'd like, because that was definitely just relishing, but scintillating even. But here is an excellent question as well, is, we're looking at the current Biden administration, which, you obviously know where I stand on the various administrations, et cetera, and I will never give Trump credit for anything, ever.
Except that thing you just did, but okay.
Yeah, but that's so outweighed by everything else that it's inconsequential. But here is the irony that is so striking is Biden's approach to continue the process of withdrawal is so much of that. Well, actually, it was a farce on his part, but at least he said it. The America First thing of the dear leader. And that is exactly what Biden and his administration has done with Afghanistan, which I actually agree with him in that sense. And if Trump would have ever actually meant some of that stuff and done anything that meant anything, and you didn't try to destroy democracy, I might have agreed with some of that stuff too. But, it's the presentations in the pudding. But the fact of the matter is that that's exactly what we've done under the Biden administration in Afghanistan is America First. Sorry, guys, we've been here for 20 years. You're going to have to be big boys and girls now and actually do this on your own. We started to pull out, and they went, yeah, just kidding. No, we'd rather not. And, the president apparently is now in the Emirates, and all of the guns, they just gave them to the Taliban.
Yeah, like all of it. Like, again, all of our tax dollars,
yep,
and or our debt, which causes our inflation, which makes our lives more expensive, right, has spent 20 years making a stronger Taliban in Afghanistan, but it did make some Halliburton and Boeing guys real rich.
Probably true. Lest we not forget, the history continues to repeat itself, particularly when we learn nothing from it. Is what do we do back in the 1980s? We as a country, we armed the Mujahideen because they were fighting the Soviets, and we didn't like the Soviets, and the Mujahideen ended up including one Osama bin Laden, who then got ticked off when we went into Iraq the first time around because he offered his holy warriors to come and liberate Kuwait. And the Saudis said, no thanks, we'd rather have the United States come in. And then he got pissed and turned on us. So now that we have the Taliban back in power in Afghanistan, now with our weapons, sort of like the Mujahideen back in the 90s, is it, unfortunately, here we go again? And what have we learned aside from nothing?
Nothing.
But at least we paid more money.
Right.
I'm excited about it backwards. I thought the Mujahideen was with the Russians and we harmed the Taliban.
No, we armed the Mujahideen who were trying to dispel the Soviets and did dispel the Soviets with great furor.
Out of Afghanistan.
They were quite out of Afghanistan. Because you can't conquer and hold Afghanistan. You can't do it.
Right. Nobody has.
Ask Genghis Khan.
Right.
It's very tribal.
Yes, and very effective as well.
Well, I mean, U.S. backed Al Qaeda forces in Syria to try to get rid of
ISIS.
ISIS and what's the guy's name? Blanking on him.
I don't remember which
The
one.
president or dictator, whatever the guy's name is.
Bashar al-Assad?
Yeah. You know, and so it's like we're all over the world playing these games, spending our money, arming what will eventually become an enemy.
Yep.
At least that's how it's been. That's how it's been since Vietnam, at least. And even Vietnam was kind of funky on that one, but after Japan's I guess Japan's the one real exception, and Germany, I guess. But since World War II, we just make new enemies. And then we'll see them again. And so, I mean, yeah, that's the question right now: is what will we see again out of this new Taliban that we have built?
We're trying to stabilize the region, but we end up destabilizing it or propagating the destabilization.
Well, I mean, apparently we're just really, really bad at picking winners.
At least the last few decades.
What was it the president of Afghanistan that we propped up and helped get elected and all that kind of stuff and forced elections on the people and all that stuff?
Karzai. Karzai.
$150 million in cash and jumped on his helicopter as soon as we left.
Ghani or whatever his name is.
The newest guy.
Yeah. Just like deuces. Mm-hmm. I mean, we built you. The whole point was you guys do this yourselves, and your response to that is, no thanks. We'll take what you gave us and either give it away so we don't get killed, or we'll just run away.
Right. Which I think is part of our own fault, and it's happened many times of our past where we've essentially taken over a country for military or whatever reason, have it be Central America or the Middle East,
right?
To where we
prop people
essentially
up.
Quote unquote installed or helped institute this new leader, which most people aren't going to accept because they see this as a foreign power helping this person come into power.
Right, it's just the American puppet in charge. And
well, we've had this idea of nation building for a long time, and it's sort of ironic and really unfortunate when you look at it, because we succeeded in Germany, we succeeded in Japan. Well, even a blind squirrel finds a nut occasionally. And we obviously, I'm not saying that we didn't do a lot there, but we also did a lot in Afghanistan and Iraq as well. I mean, two of those, when it comes to Germany and Japan, succeeded, whereas the other two, along with South Vietnam, etc., we succeeded. Venezuela, abject failures. So, but we keep living with this myth as a body politic, and those we elect, that just because we have historically been successful in our own country at democracy, which got ravaged the last 4 years, but before that has done pretty well, that we can just come in and just, I love the term, the Bushy term back in the aughts, of hearts and minds. We're going to win their hearts and minds, and all of a sudden they're going to see the light, and they're going to want to be members of democracy. It doesn't just kind of sort of always work that way.
You can't divorce democracy upon countries that have no cognizance.
Well, who
don't want it.
Right. Well, that's allowing to say that was actually the point in the first place. I don't know.
Correct.
I don't know if I believe that was actually the point in the first place. That wasn't. That was the story we were told by and propagated by our warmonger media.
Right. That's what we thought would work as well. It's like, well, what if we give you guys the option to make a choice, which is quote unquote democracy?
No, not even that. I'm just saying we went over there in the first point. We actually went over there to help save lives and protect people and spread democracy around the planet. I don't know if I believe that was actually why we went.
Originally,
that was the story. That's what we were told.
I don't think that's the story.
Afghanistan.
I don't think that was the story we were originally told. I think we were told in Afghanistan we're going to go take out the people who did take out us, or at least give it a good college try. And I think Iraq, it was they're going to blow us up with WMDs. I don't ever remember the pitch being, hey, we feel really bad for the Iraqis all of a sudden after all these years. Let's go over and liberate them.
That's true. I agree with that one.
That came later.
Afghanistan, and Sam is right. Afghanistan was we're going to go get Osama bin Laden and tear up Al Qaeda, and that's why we're going there. And it's like, well, we came here and we did this and we made a mess, and we feel obligated to help you rebuild. And that's when we turned into nation building.
Our bad.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
Where are those, by the way? Are we still looking?
I don't think
is that sort of like OJ is still looking for the murder? Too soon?
It's that glove that wouldn't fit.
You must have quit.
This goes back to what Max was saying a couple episodes ago about the South Park episode about that, where it just holds up a monkey and then our heads explode because that's all we can do anymore.
I thought they did like the Chewbacca.
Or the
defense.
Chewbacca one, yeah. Sorry,
it's Chewbacca.
I didn't watch it anyway, but
the Chewbacca defense.
This does not make sense. You must have quit.
I'd forgotten about the Chewbacca defense. You just made my evening. Actually.
Yeah. That was the one in reference. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a mess. It grosses me out. Like, I'm pleased that
geopolitical issues are very complicated.
But I'm pleased that we have other media available. That
like us?
Yeah, sure. One of many. I mean, I'm just
too much credit.
Most of mine's regurgitating my other media sources that I use that aren't CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, or any of those. I generally don't like. I might catch a clip every once in a while of a Fox News item.
Fox News is not a media outlet; it's a propaganda wing.
That was my whole point with the CNN, like what the CNN and MSNBC part 2.
Oh,
that's the whole point of this.
Now I get it.
Because all like right now, all the news is about how terrible it is for the people we're leaving behind, and it's really just trying to make an excuse for us to go back in and stay.
Well, then they should, pick up a helmet and pick up a gun and go ahead. If they don't like it, I mean, go do something about it. Put your money where your mouth is.
Right, but that's the propaganda machine at work, trying to make it okay for us to say okay for the president to send people back in. That's my problem with it. That is the pitch that is happening right now.
Didn't work for Syria.
And it's not going to work. It doesn't seem like it's going to work for Afghanistan either. It doesn't mean they're not trying.
I sincerely hope he does not bow to that pressure.
I mean, and one of my predictions,
he vowed to stay there until all the Americans were gone.
As well, he should.
I'm hoping that doesn't. Yeah,
some asshole. I agree. Some random asshole out in the middle of the desert. He's like, I'm still here. And some people come on. He's like,
hey guys.
I mean, I only saw like little clips, but I mean, it was crazy to watch the little bit I saw of people like climbing onto large, like,
C-17s.
Yeah, C-17s.
I saw that video. Yeah, it's crazy. It's gross. It sucks. Bad. And
I'm sure the same thing happened in Vietnam of people trying to jump on helicopters. Like, you're the last helicopter out of here. Like, I'm jumping on.
Well, I mean, as you said, this is not going to be Saigon. Oh wait,
right?
But it is. It absolutely is.
Hence the oh wait.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Taliban has given us like safe leaving.
How thoughtful.
There's also been reports of the Taliban like beating Americans outside of the city.
I mean,
they're the kinder, gentler Taliban.
Yeah. I don't remember. I'll be up in just a second. I don't know. What do you got?
Coffee talk.
Do it?
Coffee talk.
What's coffee talk?
Sorry. Old SNL skit with Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Oh, you're reaching way back.
Give you guys a talk about, what was it? Shit.
All right. While you tell the story, I'm going to go help the kid.
And then the train left the track.
No, it was a Mike Myers skit.
Look it up, people.
It's just people like,
I got nothing on that one.
Was it Interstate? Not. Damn it. Blanking on it.
That segment was going so well before the train just jumped the tracks.
I know. I totally forgot it.
Okay, so now that Seth has left the microphone for a minute, I'm sure the audience will definitely not narc on it. So tell me everything.
About?
I don't know. Just tell me everything.
Everything. Here come the secrets.
So actually,
I think it was like Rhode Island was like their main thing. They did like Rhode Island. It's neither road nor an island. Talk amongst yourselves, because they would always talk about being verklempt.
Right. Is that the functional equivalent of why do we park on driveways and drive on parkways?
That's what I was about to say. I was trying to remember part of that too. I think that was part of it. Like, yeah.
Jumbo shrimp.
Like, yeah. Jumbo shrimp. They're neither jumbo nor shrimp. Talk amongst yourselves. It was basically like, I'm being verklempt right now. You're like, here's a topic. You guys, the rest of you, talk amongst yourselves.
Discuss.
Yeah. So I totally ruined it in not being able to remember like the actual like proper line for it.
Punchlines are really highly overrated when it boils it down. But but they're wrong when you never actually like put them out correctly. I see what you did there.
They never quite fall when you put it out correctly.
I see what you did there. So, to the extent that any of the audience after our previous discussion is still awake, if you want to, oh no, Seth is back. Never mind. Just kidding.
Continue without me. I don't mind.
So
talk amongst yourself.
Anything more that we want to explain to the audience? And yes, I'd love a beer, Seth. You want to know about federal court, and I can bore you with. Please do ask me. My brain is genetically pre-programmed to talk about federal court. Cool! I can wipe my ass with this. Trump the sequel 2020 make liberals cry again. This is awesome. I will take this on my next camping trip and wipe my ass and give it to a bear.
Ooh, so angry about it. Speaking of wiping.
Oh, I've gotten over it. I mean, it's been a few months. I've cooled off.
I could tell. Lincoln dinner was last night. Did you see any news on that?
The Lincoln dinner?
Yeah, it's the local Republican Party's big annual fundraiser.
No, not a big
Charlie Kirk was in town.
What does Lincoln have to do with the current Republican Party?
He was a true Republican.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently turnout was good. I don't know. That's all.
Yeah, everybody showed up. That's what.
Marsha was there.
Everybody that was asked to come came.
Marsha? Oh.
Marsha was there, and
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we
I don't think Haggerty made it.
Marsha too.
Oh, good. Then we can still be friends.
A non-Marsha show.
I like to tweet troll her. It's really easy. It's very low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I tried to. I listened to her podcast.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's terrible, but
well, of course it is. It's Marsha.
I was like,
Marsha.
Like she launched it or whatever, and I saw an ad for it, and I was like, I'll check it out. I mean, it's our
fucking
senator
terrible.
speaking, and it could be interesting insight, and it's just a dumbass bio show. All it is she brings other people from around the country on, and she's like, I heard you grew up in South Carolina in the country.
My name is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Listen to me.
Tell me more about living out in the woods. And that's all it is.
I'd rather hang myself.
Well, I stopped listening to it. I got like 4 episodes, and I was like, yeah, there's no value here, so I'm done. I gave it a shot to see if I could learn something, and I guess I did learn some random factoids about some random people, but nothing of value and for conversation's sake.
Who was it that digged into her baccalaureate degree?
Oh, I mean, his AC was all pissed off because she's got a home ec degree.
Color me shocked. I mean, she strikes me as such an intellectual.
I don't know. My
and well informed about all of the issues.
All of this to say that I am not a fan of Marsha Blackburn, but the fact that she has a home ec degree doesn't mean dick to me, and I don't know why it should mean dick to anybody else. That's the problem. That was my pushback because AC was like, and we voted for this idiot. It's like that had nothing to do with what people voted for.
Don't lump me in there, and I don't care what the fuck her degree's in. That's the least of my concerns.
That was my whole pushback. I mean, there's plenty of.
I wish that was the problem.
Right. There's plenty more, functional issues with why you shouldn't have voted for her, not the fact that she has a home ec degree. I mean, whatever.
Aye.
I bet she cooks a mean meatloaf. I'd eat her meatloaf if she
I'd hope so.
brought me some.
She graduated.
She probably doesn't cook anyway. She's probably got servants. I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? She's got a live-in cook.
That just got weird.
I might have just made I might have somewhat insinuated that she might own slaves, but I don't think that's what I actually said.
Live-in guests. Help her.
I mean, you want to talk about but she makes what, $235 a year as a senator. I think it's somewhere in there.
So all the reasons not to pay taxes.
I mean, yeah.
Let's talk about that again.
Let's roll it back there.
Roll that beautiful. No, wait, I can't do that.
Actually, no, she makes more than that. I think they're in the 400s.
They from around here.
Yeah.
I mean, Bush beans.
Oh yeah. Go to Smoky Ballpark. They're delicious.
Kincannon and City Mayor makes $215.
Damn.
Jacobs in the county is like $245 or something like that.
Wow. And we have to actually work for a living. That's
right. And
that's
then
bullshit.
And then City Council makes like $17,000 a year. County Commission makes like $17,000 a year.
Womp womp.
So it's funky. So
it's good to be the king or the queen or the mayor. Senate salary. Ask Dr. Google. 174.
What's that for?
They make less than a federal magistrate judge in Tennessee.
I mean, their salaries.
They do way less work too. So.
And to be fair, they make more than that. So they make way more than that. One thing I learned last night, and I think I already knew it, but I think it's fucking weird, is so let's say we'll stick with Marsha for a second. Let's say Marsha Blackburn, and I'm running. I'm running to keep my seat or whatever, and it's a Senate seat. 9 times out of 10, you're going to keep it anyway, just the way the world works.
Particularly if you're a Republican in Tennessee,
right? And so she goes out there and fundraises, and she's allowed to spend that fundraising money as she pleases. So, like, Marjorie Green or whatever in that whole debacle. I don't know if she did or not specifically, but she can donate to that campaign out of her donation. So as a candidate running, taking donations, I can donate my donations to other races and other groups. I could donate like whatever
they're not doing any other race
of people. But
right. Yeah, it's called a joke.
Yeah. So it took me a second to slow. But like Matt was talking about how like you have like, you know, whatever the rep seat is in California that Pelosi holds, that she's had for fuck ever. Every year or every election comes around, there's Republicans that try to run against her. But they collect millions of dollars from the handful of Republicans in the area that would want a Republican, and 9 out of 10 of them don't spend any of that money on themselves. They donate their donations to other races where there's actually a chance that a Republican can win the race. So they don't spend that money on themselves because they're just pissing in the wind and they know it. And that's just normal. That's how the system works.
The Schwarzenegger
works.
Well, is working.
Operates.
No more Pelosi.
But you know, she can don a tribal cloth and kneel, and so she's good at what she does, I guess.
Teach their own.
But I don't know. Just like I learned that, like I said, I think I knew it anyway. But like, you know, Matt threw a couple of examples that Pelosi one specifically out, and I was like, that's fucked up. I would be very upset as a donor if Jamie was running for county magistrate or whatever, which we got. Like I want to, once these city elections over and I start working on the 22 elections, because we've got a bunch of judges and stuff on the 22 election coming up.
Right.
I'd like your help.
Sure. Trying
to understand what a value, like what is it like when I'm voting on a judge? I don't know shit.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that, because there should be a lot of open slots coming up. They're 8-year terms.
Yeah, it's current as of right now. It's like a 62 item ballot that we're going to have in August of 22. It's a huge ballot. Because that'll be the August one, which is still weird to me. So we have a local primary in May. We have our local general and our state and federal primaries in August. And then we'll also vote in November for the state and federal generals. But so that August one is going to have all this, the local general stuff on it, which is going to be a big number. And then we have some state and federal races on top of that primary on that one. And then the November one's not very big.
A veritable smorgasbord.
Yeah, it's going to be a mess. Yeah, it's going to be a big one. And so, I mean, I've officially gotten through apparently everybody I'm going to get on the city races. Missing 2 officially. The P lady and then Hayes that won't talk to me.
The P lady?
Yeah. If you don't know, don't know. It's fine.
No, I don't know. I am not in the know on that.
Then stay not in the know. It doesn't matter. Do you live in the? Are you in the city?
No, I'm in the county.
So you don't get to vote on it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No,
I don't get to vote on it either. It's one of the District 1 people. Everybody knows about it.
I have seen some of her signs in my neighborhood.
Yeah. Apparently, the rumor is that her door knockers will go knock on the door and try to talk to you and ask if you can put a sign out. And the rumor is, at least, the people are saying no and they're putting signs out and leaving. Like they're flopping a sign in your yard even if you say no. That's the rumor.
Yeah,
quite rude.
I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't stay up if she knocked on my door and I said no and she put it up anyway. Like, I would take it down. And if I'm her, that's money that's being spent. I'm not going to put it in the yard knowing that you're going to tear it down as soon as I leave.
All right.
That sounds kind of stupid, but she's got bigger problems than sign placement. Sadly.
Saw a lot of signs on the way over here.
Yeah, Kim Smith.
Yeah,
they're pushing real hard to unseat Roberto.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, I mean, as I've grown understanding of the way the city system works, even though I get to vote on it, it's kind of dumb. It's pointless right now. The Roberto, the District 2 race, the District 3 race. The early voting's going on right now for the primary part of it. The primary is the end of the month, but the District 2 race, Roberto and Kim Smith, there is a primary, but there's no point because the top 2 vote getters from the primary move on, and there's only 2 in the primary, so they're both going to move on to the general, and so it'll really start ramping up come October. That's when you'll start seeing a lot of stuff, but we'll see as it progresses. But Kim was fun. It's kind of weird. Like, she basically told me she doesn't have any issues with the way Roberto's doing the job. She just wants the job.
Hey, you're right.
And it's like, okay, that's just, usually you're running on differences on how you do things differently, on how you would do.
He's not a bad job.
I'm prettier.
I like to do better.
Or not.
Maybe.
I don't know. Never met her. Never seen her. I can't judge. I met Roberto one time. He seemed nice enough. That was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, he's a busy little bumblebee. He's a lawyer too, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's why I ran into him one time.
Yeah, he was hard to nail down to get him to do an interview. Like, it's just hard to get time with him because he's off lawyering and then campaigning at night and all that kind of stuff.
Or he worked, busy bee.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just like what really bothers me about the city races. And actually, let me. Shit, I already ruined it. Let's forget what I just said. So
done.
The way the city
What'd
races,
you say?
The way the city races work, right? Is so we have the primary going on right now, and so I am the stone's throw from District 2. That's why you saw District 2 stuff come to the house. So for the sake of conversation, let's pretend you live in my house and we're in the city at District 2.
I don't want to pretend that.
Okay, but if you go,
can I pretend to buy your house?
Sure.
Okay.
If you're if you go to the primary, you're only going to see Roberto and Smith on your ballot in the primary.
I assume that's the Republican primary.
No, it's a nonpartisan race, so it's a total primary.
I'm totally ignorant.
And so again, if there were more people, it would actually make a difference. But since there's only 2 in this race, it doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
But I guess the better example is Sam here. He lives in District 1. He has Hayes, Murphy, and Smith. Tommy Smith.
I live in District 12.
Okay.
Hunger Games reference.
No,
nothing.
Yeah, Katniss didn't do it for me.
Jennifer Lawrence? Dude, she's one of my top
Didn't do
3.
it for me.
Oh, sad. That's more Katniss for me. But anyway, continue.
Yeah,
obviously,
I'll share. So anyway, so you're in District 1, and you go, and you're going to have just those 3 names on the ballot for your primary. You're going to come back in November, and you're going to have the top 2 vote getters of those 3, as well as the top 2 vote getters of every other district that's running in the city. So you get to vote for District 2. So if you're in District 1, in the general, you get to vote 5 times. Not 5 different times, but for 5 different.
Vote early, vote often.
Right. You get you have 5 ballot items on your general because you get to help pick District 2, 3, 4, 6 because 5's not on this ballot. That's the way city elections work.
I'm glad I don't vote in them because that makes my head hurt.
It's stupid. Like that's where I apologize for already insinuating how I feel about it because it's dumb. Like it's really, really dumb that they do the elections that way. It should be you're in District 1, you vote for District 1 primary, you vote for District 1 in the general.
Wouldn't make sense.
You have no voice on District 3's representative because you're in District 1. That would be the logical way to do things. But that's not how they did it in the past. Or they changed that many moons ago, pretty much because they didn't want a black guy. That's my understanding of it.
Oh, that's not.
I mean, it's people that still have authority over what happens within city.
Sure, but that means we should be able to vote for, like on the same logic, we should be able to we should be able to vote for the senators from California, because the senator from California goes to D.C. and they have a vote that affects me as a U.S. citizen, because that's their job. That's the same premise that's happening here.
I'd rather vote for the senators in Wyoming and Idaho and South Dakota.
But I mean, that's the theory. The theory would be that we would vote, like if, on a Senate race, we would vote for all 50 states.
Sure. And then we could help control who's on the Supreme Court.
Right.
But we can't. So we don't.
I would say that would be the theory, is that Tennesseans would get to vote, Californians would get to vote on Tennessee senators.
I honestly just would, in federal Senate races, would love to be able to vote in Tennessee and think that my vote actually counted for anything.
It's true. Or presidential races, for that matter, but
true.
But again, going back to why I think it's such a big issue, the funding and taxes and all that kind of bullshit. It's they functionally do the least for us. Who the president is and who's the Speaker of the House should be way lower on our list than who my mayor is and who my city council rep is.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way the world should work, and that's, I think, one of the big problems that we have as a nation is that Biden or Trump, oh fuck, it's a big fucking deal, and it's like, Kincannon or Manis, that's a big deal too. And they're right here. And you're going to see direct effects of their decision-making process right here in front of you. And you don't even know who it is.
I mean, all of it's a big deal. I mean, but I agree with you. But it's all of it's a big
Congress
deal.
or Senate work in that semi-logic?
No. As far as, I mean, I'm sure there's other places that do something similar to the city races. But as far as on a general usage thing, I don't know of any other. There's no other thing that I functionally do in that does it that way. County commission's not that way. When I go to vote, I'm in District 4. I only get to vote for the District 4 county commissioner. I don't get to vote for the District 1 or 2 or whatever. State Senate, Becky Massey, District 6, I only got to vote in the District 6 race. I don't get to vote for McKinsey or Gloria Johnson. That's a House race, but whatever.
Are those generally larger districts?
No, the districts are supposed to be split populationally. And they will be doing that here again shortly.
Yeah, about that.
I mean, it's city district as far as it being a city council versus state district.
Oh no, your city district's going to be the smallest in population compared to a state district or.
All right, so then for that next level up, we're voting for someone in that state district that we're then voting in.
Right, but it's only the district that you live in.
Right.
To my knowledge, at least for us locally, there is no other race that you vote in that you're voting for anybody except your district rep, whether it's your city, well, taking the city off the table, it's your county district, your state house district, your state senate district, your state reps that go to the federal government, and then even in that, you have our state house. We have how many state house seats in Tennessee?
I don't recall.
Like 4? We only get to vote for one of them. We don't get to vote. It's split up across the state, and they have subsets of the state.
Right. You're talking about the congressional district?
Yeah.
The U.S. Congress? Oh, in Tennessee? I think there's 7.
But we only get to vote for the one that covers
Right, the
Knox
one that
County.
covers Knox County, correct.
Right. And then the senators, there's just 2 senators from the state. We get to vote for both of them.
Correct.
They're not district. They're just within the state. Mm-hmm. And then the president, obviously, we all get to vote for, sort of. But I can say that I didn't vote for any of the federal reps that we have in place right now.
Same. Not a single one of them.
You didn't vote for Biden?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. No, I was thinking the senators on Congress people. No, I voted for Biden for sure.
Did you vote for Bradshaw?
Yes, absolutely.
She was interesting. I tried to get her on the show, but couldn't pull that one off. It's a little bit above our pay grade at this point.
Yeah, well,
we'll get there.
Shoot for the moon and land among the stars. No, I definitely voted for her, and I won't vote for any Republicans. If they've got an R next to their name, I will automatically vote for anyone else. Doesn't really even matter who.
I mean, my general rule on the 2020 election was if it has an R or D next to their name, I'm not going to vote for them.
Oh, there you go.
Like I'm trying to remember. There was one I think I left blank because there was only 2, and it was only RD.
See, I did that.
That's not true. I voted for Manis and Massey.
That was one thing I wonder. I'm like, if I leave this blank, is it going to go through?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. That's what I did in 2016.
That's the concern. That's when Chris Davis is in here. Reference Chris Davis. That's like 25. That's one of his concerns about this big ballot coming up is that people are gonna just quit. 60 items are gonna get 5-10 items in and just be like, I'm done. And so any of the races that are further down on it, which are going to be the judges and the clerks and the ones that nobody knows about anyway, so it's probably better that they don't vote on them, in my opinion. But
I doubt there's that many people that they go to vote and don't fill in all the boxes.
I mean, Chris Davis says it is a fact. It happens, and it is a notable percentage difference. The bigger the ballot is, the less the last couple items. And it's literally just in order. He's like, the most effective part of it is how many items there are. So if it gets over 20 items, once it gets over 20 items, there's a percentage loss on item 21, 22, 23, and it gets worse the longer the ballot is.
I don't know. Yeah, never mind. Like,
well, I mean,
let me skip that one. Come back. Like, let me skip that one too. Let me skip that one. Like, you know what? Never mind.
Never underestimate the laziness of the American electorate.
Well, I mean, for me, and this one that gets me in trouble, and you'll probably bark at me about it. It's like, I think it's a problem when it's like, circuit court judge 15 or whatever it is on the thing, and it's the 40th item on my ballot, and I'm like, I don't know who these people are. I don't even know what the job is. And that's one of the core issues that I have in general in politics talk locally specifically. I'm sorry, governance talk locally specifically. But it concerns me how many people vote not knowing what they're doing. I think it's a problem. It's
concerning. I mean, it's unfortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, it's your right to do that. I mean, we should have an informed electorate, but the fact of the matter is, we never have, we never will. I mean, there is going to be a portion of the electorate who are always going to be informed. There's always going to be a portion of the electorate who are semi-informed, and there's always going to be a portion of the electorate who don't have a fucking clue.
Right. And I don't disagree with that. I'm not at any level trying to pretend to begin to even hint at saying that they shouldn't be allowed to vote. But I think we should shame them a little bit.
Oh, a little bit? Oh, come on. I thought that's why God invented social media, so that you could shame people for being willfully ignorant but talking anyway.
Yeah. Well, no, because, yeah, I exist, so it has to be somewhere true. But again, okay, so going back to... I can't
speak to that.
Like, and so I guess a teaser on the premise is just because, again, this is one of the things I still struggle with the top levels of city council and where their authority lies and what they're allowed to do. With that ACLU one specifically, the way Knoxville works is the mayor kind of does what the mayor wants, and the city council's kind of along for the ride. They can pitch a fit, but if the mayor really wants to get it done, city council can't stop her. And so, like, trying to understand what the job is, because I think that's the number one bottom line issue that I don't think most people get, because we go to the specific District 1 person who has a whole bunch of social media problems with some of her homeopathic remedies that you don't know about, so we're going to leave that alone. Other than
is this the P person?
Other than to say, how does that affect their job?
I don't know what it is.
My point is, my point in the whole conversation.
Tell me.
I don't want to give it air.
I need to know. Well, okay. Fine. Tell me later off the air.
Okay. And so, the question is, what does the city councilor do? And if they have some stupid homeopathic remedy, does that have anything to do with the job? Should that be part of the conversation? I acknowledge that it can and will be, because it at least puts into question some
sanity.
Yeah, sanity issues. That's a good word to use.
I don't know anything about it. I'm just guessing.
But
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Exactly. But but I would argue that of the 105,000 or so registered voters in the city of Knoxville, 1,000 actually know what the city council really does.
I don't live in the city, but I can tell you I don't know what the city council does.
A good illustration would be you're in the county. What district in the county are you in?
I don't know.
Okay.
I vote, and I apprise myself of who I'm voting for, which is anybody with a Republican sticker next to them. But do I know all the function? I do not.
And again, not to say all the function, any of the function. I mean, and I think there's a lot of people that vote that way.
Property taxes?
Property taxes is a thing.
School.
Which office? County Commission?
Phone a friend.
County Commission has next to nothing to do with schools.
Oh, okay.
We have a school board that takes care of that.
Oh, awesome.
But
my kid's in private school. I'm not sure.
But inevitably, there will be a county commissioner that runs on doing things for the schools, and it's like that's not your job.
Oh,
and so that's my point, is that people go out and campaign partially because they don't know what the job is, and they think they're saying something that they can do when they get the job, which is bad.
They don't even know,
or they actually know better and they're saying it knowing they can't do anything about it, but they know that gets you excited to go vote for them.
Isn't that unethical in some way, or it should be?
We're talking politics.
They do approve the budget, correct?
Yes.
That's about it.
What does the budget do? What's on the budget?
The county budget includes the school board's budget, and so the county commission can. I think if I remember correctly, it's either full refusal or none. They can't line on them anything. It's either this budget is not acceptable or it is.
Who's in charge of the funding for the new stadium?
Mark Vanimtoff. I'll have him on in a couple weeks.
Oh, cool.
Again, I've already had him on once.
Awesome. I mean, I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I'm pretty excited that I don't have to drive all the way to Kodak anymore for a game.
I mean, my current stance on it is the stadium project is Thanos. Anybody? You're going to throw a Hunger Games reference.
Oh.
What is Thanos? Is that what he says? I am inevitable.
All powerful. Oh, inevitable.
I am inevitable.
Ah.
It is inevitable. It is happening.
You lost me on that one.
Sorry, that was my Hunger Games attempt at Hunger Games reference.
Well, just because I threw out a reference doesn't mean that I am the meet all end all by any stretch of anyone's imagination.
But yeah, so essentially, I believe that there's nothing that's going to stop it from happening. There's some ins and outs that are going on currently that are kind of gross that I don't really like, and that's why I'm having Manitoff back in, because I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I mean, I would argue right now, I am probably top 1% in the county of people that understand what's going on with the baseball project.
I was wrong. The text I sent you, apparently, the article I read was 15 million, about $15 million.
Yeah, the first one,
from what was projected.
The first article I saw said it went to 74, which 64 was the old estimate. Yeah. So I was 10 million. But then I saw another headline that said 15.5 million more. And I'm confused. I'm very confused on it.
I don't know where they get the numbers from. A lot of it's projected numbers, projected tax revenue, projected. I mean,
it's all like tax revenue is always all projected, and I get that part of it. But it's like, and it's projected on, and apparently it was a third party company that came in that did a lot of the financial analysis stuff. They created a lot of the projections for what they think it's going to produce in tax revenues and stuff like that. Right. But it's the one thing that really jumped out at me in that first article was that they're adding retail to the stadium.
I heard that. I heard that was part of like the original plan. So merchandise of the team or whenever they have events there, it was merchandise from that event that would go into it.
Roddy's saying hi, everybody. He's been absent for the last couple of shows. I don't know what he's in a tiff about, but there was always a plan to have like a shop, as far as like merchandise shop for whatever that was in the stadium. So you go to the game and you get a hat and a miniature baseball bat and stuff like that. That was always part of the plan. But what they added to it in this last meeting was that they're going to have a series. They're basically going to have a strip mall that's in the stadium but outward facing.
They're going to have a strip club.
We're trying to. We're Max and I are working on that. We're trying to get one in there, but that's low key. Hold on to that.
Oh, okay. Doing a seventh inning.
The problem is.
Oh, I see what you did there. Seventh inning stretch.
The problem is there's
seventh inning strip.
Oh, strip.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's that church right across the interstate there that might be too close. There's rules about how close you can have a strip club to a church, and the church was there first. So
they can sign off on it if they want to. Right?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
I'm sure they'll be fine.
It's all rezoning issues.
Anyway, but so they're putting the strip mall outward facing. And so one of the things that was in the plan, has been in the plan from day one, is that the actual stadium itself all of the sales tax revenue will be diverted from sales tax back into the payment for the bond to build it.
You're talking about just the city county's portion, you're not talking about the state and the sales.
Right, the state's the state, the state's portion, not the city county portion, is what the plan is.
Really?
Yeah, that was always the plan.
The states are going to agree to that?
Yeah, they already. I mean,
why?
They already did.
Why?
Well, because I mean, the original plan was they were going to try to get that to be the state portion of the tax was all, not just the stadium, but the surrounding development. They were going to call it a special tax district. That's what they did with the World's Fair remodel. Same thing. We're still paying that one off right now too, by the way.
Now? Damn. It's been 29 years. Yeah.
No, the remodel that we did in the aughts.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't live here then.
But so when it was taken to the state initially, the state's flush with cash right now because they don't spend any money. And revenues were up unexpectedly through sales tax this last year. Hold on a sec. Go to your box.
Penalty box.
Go to your box. Go to your box.
Power play. Busted.
Go to your box.
The dog just got busted.
You in trouble?
Well, apparently it was unacceptable for me to go and take a piss.
That was my question when I was a while, like the PBS station would show the state assembly,
right,
showing the different committees or whatever. And all of a sudden I saw Mayor Jacobs and a couple other people for the stadium asking the state for money. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? I'm like, why are we asking the state for money? I thought we were just asking the city for money. Now all of a sudden we're asking extra money from the state for this stadium project.
If they got the money, bring it on.
Yeah, and there were a number of people that pushed back. They're like, okay, like, why are you asking the state for? Like, ask your regional company, like, people from the state, like, how is this going to benefit the state?
Well, I mean,
not like how is this going to benefit Knoxville, but how does this benefit the rest of Tennessee?
I mean, the state doesn't benefit Chattanooga. We beat the Lookouts,
right?
But I'm saying that, but what has happened already in the past? The state helped fund the the Memphis basketball facility where the pro team plays. State helped fund the Nissan Stadium for the Titans. They helped fund
that's national teams.
They help fund the minor league baseball team that's in Nashville. They help fund Bridgestone. They help fund the Lookouts in Chattanooga. This is not a new practice.
The Bridgestone does more.
Right. Well, so is the stadium. That's the plan of the baseball thing.
What?
It's a multi-use stadium. They always get mad at me when I call it baseball stadium when I talk to them about it.
Yeah, we've got a new football club or soccer club, whatever.
Yeah, the soccer club's going in with it.
It's not like we have the Tennessee Theater and other places for concert venues.
I mean, Nashville has like the most venues per capita in the country.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But the state of Tennessee, Nashville government helped fund the Bridgestone Arena that also holds concerts.
They also have the most pedal taverns per capita.
I want to do a boat one.
Oh,
how fucking cool would that be?
When everyone drowns, be great.
Yeah, it's called a booze cruise.
Oh,
a booze cruise is just a boat you go drink on. This would be a pedal pub. But it'd have like, instead of pedaling the wheels of the cart down the street, you're pedaling like a paddle wheel on the back of the boat.
I can't even
the river.
It's gonna be fun. Like halfway back,
I can't even conceive what your insurance rates on that are gonna be.
I mean, just make sure everybody wears a life vest or something. It's probably not bad.
Oh yeah, could possibly go wrong.
I mean, the city is trying to encourage recreational water stuff downtown. They want to add some of that.
Well, you know what Lloyd's of London says: there's no bad risk, just bad premiums. You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyway, the addition of the retail on the stadium is with the way the taxes are supposed to work and the way the refunds are supposed to work. What it sounded to me like is they're basically taking some of the retail they were going to put surrounding it and they're going to shove it in the stadium so that money goes back into the payoff, which is fine, but the costs are going up, which we assume they would because just materials at this point are exceptionally more expensive than they were back when this project was
material
being
costs
estimated.
Have gone down.
Do I?
I said the material costs in general have gone down.
Since when?
Since the past 4 or 5 months when things were skyrocketing.
Right, but the $64 million estimate that they put up, they produced that early 2020, if not 2019.
Okay.
Before material costs got skyrocketed in 2020. And yes, now it's coming back down, but it's still not down to where it was.
They would have adjusted it when it was actually first proposed not that many months ago.
I wouldn't.
Because you're not going to do a proposal and not do actual cost. Well, I mean, I guess they could have been shady as shit and been like, oh, well, these are our 2019 costs. Sorry, we did our numbers 2 years ago.
I mean, I'm assuming that's part of why that went up in this last meeting, because they were like, I would. You don't think that's material costs at all?
I don't think that.
Okay. I don't have the.
I mean, material costs have been up for at least 9 or 10 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, my argument is that the $64 million that was originally proposed was before then. Right, so that proposal was set up on materials costing less than.
I don't remember
before the window of time. Before the window of time that you're referencing is when the first estimate was put up, and they are now adjusting that estimate for what is more likely because we're getting closer to go time and getting real and getting it signed off on and getting the real numbers. So I'm assuming they updated their material costs, and that's part of where that $10-15 million came from. I'm not saying it's all of it.
All I can say is that in July of last year, 2020, I purchased my wife a she shed, and then earlier this month, I bought myself a he shed that's the same size, and it cost me 30% more in building costs. So damn. I don't know what that means as far as the conversation is concerned, but I know that there have been some apparently significant increases in building materials.
Right. And production's behind on stuff like that.
Correct.
Too. So there's a lot of there's a number of factors going into it. I'm not saying that's specifically that one, but I'm just saying I'm assuming that's where most of that change came from. And adding this retail space in it is an additional construction on top of what was already planning on being there. So that's part of it as well. But the concern I have for it is yes, the new dollar sign goes up, but it should take the liability of the city and the county on how much they're going to have to actually pay for it down, because it's going to produce more sales tax. If it produces more sales tax, that extra sales tax goes into the payment. And they're still stuck on this $1 million rent number, which is bullshit. And I'm not okay with well, that's about average for similars and stuff like that. I was like, I don't care. I don't care what, Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is not a similar because Fort Wayne, Indiana is like half the size of Knoxville. It's not a similar, like, it's like, that was a good show. If you guys didn't listen to it, I had Lauren Ryder and her cousin who lives in Fort Wayne. Because for this baseball stadium in Fort Wayne, Indiana is the model we're using. And for Fort Wayne, it turned downtown around for them. We don't have a downtown that needs turned around. It's just an add-on too. So that's where the big differences and arguments here. It's like, look how great it was for Fort Wayne. It's like, yeah, I agree. But Fort Wayne was shit before it. And it became the focal point that the new downtown grew around, where we already have a functional growing downtown.
We're not that bad.
Right. And so that's one of those things. It's like, it's not a fair comparison. And again, I don't know what they pay in rent either. I just like the $1 million rent number, especially now that we officially have the soccer team, the football club on board. I find that $1 million number to be almost insulting, as I understand it. Because I mean, it's like you already have a sublet in place that's going to help cover some of that money. Not to mention all the other activities outside of baseball that you do in there that's going to go into that rent payment. That you're probably last I heard there were 200 plus dates a year that weren't baseball, is what they're planning on. So I mean that's going to be a day baseball game. They shut it down, clear it out, and do a concert that evening after a baseball game.
Well, all I know is when I take my kid to the ballpark on a Sunday afternoon, it costs me $40 for the two of us to go to watch the game, $5 to park, in between food, beer, the ice cream and the helmet, and the inevitable hat, jersey, and everything else is like another $100 on top of that.
Yeah.
So they're making money.
Yeah.
In addition to the sponsorship, of course.
Right, and that's another one, too, that I haven't heard anybody talking about on naming rights. Who gets the naming rights, and then who gets the money for
the stadium itself?
Yeah.
Mr. Boyd.
I mean,
it could be the Knoxville Stadium brought to you by the law office of James Friauf, LLC.
There you go.
I wonder how much that would cost me.
And almost an agreement. We can. We'll split it.
Oh,
we'll do a co-sponsor.
I like it.
I mean, honestly, it'll be Pilot or Weigel's. I mean, that's maybe UT Medical or Fort Sanders. Maybe one of the medical centers will do it. I don't really understand that, but they do. That's a common occurrence.
Pilot's probably going to be a real big one.
Or the stadium brought to you by the Discovery Channel.
Yeah. No, that's a good one too, because it's not Scripps anymore.
Did it change? I can't remember. I can't keep up.
The parent company's moved around and stuff like that. But yeah, that was one of the craziest things to me. Is like the amount of like kind of real high tech stuff that goes on around here, like high tech manufacturing kind of stuff like that that's going on around here. Apparently, like the digital menu boards that are like everywhere, like when you go to McDonald's and stuff like that.
I don't.
But they're produced by, there's a company, and I think it's down in District 1, South Knoxville, that produces those for all over the place. Nick Cipero, who's running for District 3. They do some shit with, God, what did he say? I can't remember. He said they do windmill turbine recycling. They're like one of three companies in the country that have appropriate permits and stuff to do the recycling process for windmill turbines and shit like that.
So they make them in Chattanooga and they recycle them here?
I guess.
That's convenient.
Yeah.
It's too bad, going back to the naming rights and whatnot, it's too bad that Ruby Tuesdays has gone bankrupt. How great would it be to have Ruby Tuesday Stadium? Yeah. You could have a salad bar at every section. Fantastic.
I mean, they made sure to hold on to Blackberry Farms.
They'll go bankrupt again. And
they held on to the high dollar thing.
I mean, it could be, we could get, Fanatic Brewing and like one of the, it'd probably be Yeehaw. Sadly, Yeehaw's the big. Yeehaw plays that game. Nobody else really plays that game.
They're at Johnson City. Where are they?
Yeah, they're at Johnson City.
Yeah,
they bought Elst down there on Central.
Really?
Oh, and they're apparently they're going to be brewing there as well as that's going to be their local tap room here. Because I got in an argument with Lauren Ryder about it. She's like, Yeehaw's down in District 4. It's like, yeah, but they're out of Johnson City. I'm like, what's their corporate address? She's like, Johnson City. I was like, then it's not a Knoxville company. I want a Knoxville brewer to be, because like, I don't remember last year because I didn't get, football was weird because of the pandemic stuff, but 2 or 3 years ago, there was, UT game days were sponsored by Miller Lite, Smirnoff, Yeehaw, and some cider company. Might have been Gypsy. But, it's like, oh, cool, that's semi-local. It'd be way cooler if it was local. Like, deal with Miller Lite and Smirnoff, whatever, fine. Right. But I would love to have a Knoxville brewery that is on par with, like, a New Belgium, where it's like, if you're a beer dork and you're coming to Knoxville, you're going to that brewery. Right. Like, you go to Fort Collins, you're going to New Belgium. You're just going to go to the New Belgium brewery, hang out, check it out. They have a dozen other really good breweries in Fort Collins, but that is a destination you have to go to. The other ones you might check out and do whatever. But like, I wish we had one of those. That's what I'm hoping for.
Not there yet.
I like Fanatic for it. I like Marty for it.
Fanatic's good. I like them. I like the blonde.
The red was mine. The pale ale doesn't do it for me. I don't quite get it.
I don't know if I've ever had that. I like the blonde when it's hot.
He's expanded them out. They've got a bunch of different stuff now too. They had just the 4 flagships forever, and that's all they did. But you like the black, don't you?
Black was alright. The red I've had from Tap that I thought was really good.
Really? I'll tell you what, that Elst vanilla milkshake on draft is multitudes better on draft than it is out of the can. Multitudes.
Who did there?
And apparently in the tap room, they have it with a nitrous push instead of a CO2 push. And so it's even creamier. And I haven't had the chance to go down and try it with that, but it's very good on tap.
Cool. That's what I wondered. It's like a milkshake stout. Milkshake ale?
Yeah, that's an IPA, I think.
I thought it'd be a little creamier, but somebody the other day tried one and said it wasn't very creamy, but it had that flavor.
Yeah.
But it was still kind of like a lighter ale style. Yeah.
It's a light body. It's not a thick.
I would assume it would be a little bit thicker with that milkshake kind of connotation to it.
Yeah. It's good beer. There's a lot of good beer in Knoxville.
Sure.
I'm pleased. But I just, like I said, I'd love to have one. Or have like some like, not conglomerate as in become one company, but like a universal marketing system. They all get together on some kind of universal marketing thing where they all pitch in together, and it's like Knoxville breweries. All right.
Is a bridge, is that local?
Yeah.
I thought so. I checked out their place over there up on, was it Bearden Hill, whatever it is?
Yep.
Aaron. Yeah.
What's that?
Aaron. The road they're on is Aaron.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I tried that a few weeks ago, and I liked them. And limited menu, but the food was really good.
Did you have the burger?
I did.
Yeah,
one of the best ones in Knoxville I found.
AC loves their burger. Like everybody,
okay.
He's like, we need to go there and we go check out this brewery. It's like, okay, cool. He's like, their burgers are great. It's like, that's your first sales pitch for a brewery is the food. I'm not mad at it, and it is a good burger.
But they make it right.
Yeah,
but the beer's good too.
So
very good. They didn't pay me to say that. I wish.
They just don't have parking.
Yeah,
you park at the church,
right?
Or the library.
Or the library. Yeah.
Oh, well, I parked at the church.
Right across the street's the Knox County Library, right there.
Yeah, I thought I was going to burst flames. So
the Albright Grove, they're over there on Sutherland.
I've been there.
That's a cool little place. I didn't realize they existed till recently. They got me a sweet hat, but
nice.
Yeah, we got
swag.
Moral of the story is that we have some good breweries, and I would like to see them more visible in those kind of things. I'd like those to be some of the brands that Knoxville is known for instead of just Pilot. And I mean, Regis isn't even Knoxville anymore, really. Anyway.
Yeah.
That whole debacle with that deal that they got to get in that building on the south side and then get bought, and they still work there though, so I guess it's good.
Well, I mean, as long as they stay there, I mean, at least it doesn't look like the old hospital did. That was pretty wretched for a while.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to see City County raised and move somewhere else and put something cool in that.
Oh,
property. Yeah. That's such a cool. Actually, I take that back. The building's actually really cool.
It's okay.
It's just no fun. The stuff that goes on there is no fun.
No.
Put that somewhere else. Put that up at the old St. Mary's in North Knoxville, and
for sure.
Let's put a cool ass. I'd like to see the new Civic. I'd like to see them tear down the Civic and build a new Civic where City County is.
That'd be cool. Sure.
Because that'd be badass.
I mean, who wants to go
next to Thompson? Right there next to Thompson Bowling.
I mean, we could share parking lots.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things to be, and we're getting there, and I think the new census data is going to help. I think one of the things that I'm excited about as Knoxville grows is that UT's influence is diminishing. It's not diminished. but it's not like UT says so it's going to happen. Because I think that's why we don't have a new Civic. I think that's why the Civic's an old piece of shit, and we're never going to build a new one because UT doesn't want it. They don't want to lose Thompson Bowling events to it.
So with the new Smokies and Football Club Stadium, they're still keeping Lindsey Nelson Stadium, right? They're not going to try to play UT over there.
I have no idea. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And apparently they're about to put $multi-million of work into Lindsey Nelson.
Good, it should. It's kind of a shithole.
The underpaid coach said, "You don't have to pay me more. Just give me a better stadium and facility so I can get more better players as we continue to kick ass and grow."
How unselfish!
Pretty sure he just got a hell of a contract.
Yeah, he did, and he deserved it. But
I don't know how well he did last year. And this year he's done great. The previous year, I don't know how well he did.
I don't know how long he's been there. I don't know anything about UT baseball other than we made a deep run in the College World Series for the first time and for fuck ever this year.
Did pretty well. I mean, we're a basketball and baseball school. The end.
Yeah, that's what it's. I mean, that's what it's becoming. I don't know. I think Vegas has 6 wins. It's the over under for the season. Vegas has us going to a bowl game
already. I have no idea. I mean, I've gotten so disillusioned with UT football the last decade plus that I don't even. I watch the games, but that's
I think realistically, college football has a lot of problems. It's not a UT specific thing. I think UT is a good example of how the college football is falling apart. But I don't necessarily think it's a fall thing. I just think it's the way college football has evolved. That it's promoting dynasties.
Right.
And it's making it harder for teams that are in the middle to get anywhere. You're just kind of stuck. Because, especially in SEC schools, if you're not, you're not gonna, if you can't win, if you can't win 10 games in the SEC, like it's.
Well, and now it's, if you can't beat them, join them. I mean, we're getting Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah, in a couple of years. I'm curious about that. And I think that moves it. I think sadly that moves it in a direction into my joke solution to all the problems that is college football. But it's not. I don't like my solution. I just think it would be a solution that just stops the arguments.
Solution being,
which I think the best thing about college football to me is the argument. Like I like the old bowl system where it was just one game, no playoff at all. Because every time you add a bracket, all you're doing is adding more teams that can argue that I could have made the bracket and I could have had a run. Right. I could have done X, Y, or Z. And so I like the old argument. It's like, yeah, it sucks. You have a 12-0, a 12-0, well, 13-0 for most of them. You have a 13-0, 13-0, and a 12-0 because they didn't have a conference championship because they're from some weird division or whatever. Right. And they're all saying I should get to go. And they're not wrong. Yep. I'm not saying that, but that was the fun of college football, is to have those arguments, to have those we could have dones and that kind of stuff. That the more we make it into a statistical game, it takes that away. And I think the college players should have been getting paid before this, but I think the way they're doing this likeness right things is problematic. You have that kid out of Texas that's skipping his senior year in high school so that he can he's graduating early from high school so he can go play college ball so that he can make money. Because it's football. You're not guaranteed a career, and so he wants to get out and start getting paid because
who wouldn't?
He's not an idiot,
right?
And again, I think it was a mistake for how long it took to figure out how to get players paid, but I don't think this was the right solution either. Because for super teams like Alabama's, it's going to take them to another level of recruiting where now I'm going to Alabama. I'm going to get a likeness right deal.
Right. I'm
going to get something out of that. I don't know, was it Wilkerson or whatever on the basketball teams? He got a deal with Pal's Hot Dogs.
Apparently. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, their Pal's is planning on putting 2 in Knoxville or Knox County.
Okay.
And along with that, they brought him on as their official spokesperson. And again, I think it's
where's he out of or something?
He's a basketball player.
Local?
No, I don't know where he's from. No.
Oh, okay.
But I just think it's for smaller demographic schools, and Knoxville's right in the middle. Knoxville's smaller, lower, but Georgia Tech all of a sudden has a conversation because you have big companies in Atlanta that want to see Georgia Tech winning football games, that were willing to sponsor players that are going to get players that Georgia Tech wouldn't have got otherwise because they're in Atlanta. I think you're going to see shifts to larger market schools that are generally less important on the whole stage, that are going to get better players because they're going to be able to, because the program can't say we'll get you a deal, but they're going to say we can get you a deal. It's going to happen. And so I think that's part of what's going to happen with that. And I just think it's, I don't know. I just think college football has just become a less good product over time. And, we're impatient fan bases. We want wins. We want wins now. And it's not how the league works anymore. You're either Alabama or you're not.
Right.
And
how many coaches have we had since Phil Fulmer in 2008?
6.
All of them?
Like 6 or 7, not a ton.
And I found myself, I used to be just a die-hard football fan. I'm sitting here looking through Packers shit and all that. And, I used to be, whether it's NFL and college football, what you got?
No, that was I was talking about my hat earlier.
Oh, nice. So, I used to be just a die-hard football fan, and with just the changes that have happened, including, what we're talking about through the years, I've just really started to shy away from it. I mean, I've gone really, for better or worse, I've gone more toward it, and I think this goes to what we were talking about with the new stadium, that at least for me is interesting and intriguing, is I watch baseball and I watch soccer. I've gone largely away from football. I mean, I do watch the Tennessee games, although usually after about 4 or 5 games of the season, I just get pissed off and turn it off. And
I mean, it's to me, UT games are background. Like, I'm not sitting down to watch the game.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am as well. Yeah, for sure. And I always want the Titans to do well, but do I really care? No.
Right. I mean, I've got a weird year ahead of me for Green Bay with the whole Aaron Rodgers situation and all that kind of mess. But
what a mess.
I appreciate the NFL for being a statistical machine. Like, it is very,
Sure.
It is very, it's stats based. This is how the machine works. Which gets me pissed off because an NFC East team somehow gets to make the playoffs every year. There's no reason they should make the playoffs.
The Washington football team that after 2 years we can't name anything other than something
I think
racist.
you leave it. I think you leave it. It's perfect. But
title based in indigenous persons.
But it is, it is the thing about pro ball, at least, is that there's some semblance of parity. Like, you had the New England that was in it every year, but they didn't win it every year. They were making the playoffs every year. They had deep runs and all that stuff. They were a dynasty football program, and they were amazing for it.
They won better when they cheated.
Well, whatever. That's a decide. I'm not disagreeing with that either. But you have some programs or teams or whatever that could just continuously stay at the bottom of the barrel. Jacksonville,
Cleveland,
all of the NFC East, as previously mentioned. But you have all that. But at the end of the day, you have teams that can make runs, and that the sport as a whole. I'll take one too, please, sir. At the end of the day, there's some parity to pro ball. There is no I'm sitting down to watch football on Sunday afternoon that I know honestly they're going to win this game. It's not like Alabama and Louisiana Tech. I know who's winning that football game. There's no conversation. It's a 47-point spread. Alabama's going to win that game. Now, yeah, you can have a Jacksonville playing, a Green Bay, and Green Bay's, a playoff caliber team, and Jacksonville's not this year. But Jacksonville can still beat a Green Bay. Jacksonville can still beat a New England when they were good.
They don't have Tebow anymore.
I know. I was excited about that. I thought it was going to be fun, but
the romance is done.
The Eagles,
huh?
The Eagles. Tebow was with
Jaguars.
He was in
back with his girlfriend Urban Meyer.
Jaguars. Okay, yeah. I saw that Urban Meyer was the coach. They tried to bring him as a tight end, and they were like, "Yeah, he did really shitty in the preseason."
But I think the point.
It's like my age.
The point is, though, that I think that part of the NFL makes it still fun and exciting to watch. And for those that are super fantasy dorks, NFL fantasy football is super fun if you're into it. I grew out of it myself, but I can understand why people get really excited and into fantasy football. So those two things keep NFL relevant to me. I agree with you. I spent all day today watching Premier League. I was watching Premier League all day today.
Cool.
Because they just got started up. But actually, I watched an MLS game for first half of it at least.
Nice.
And I've liked soccer for a while. I'm always a World Cup fan. I love World Cup.
Sure.
But But I think I still don't like baseball. I still haven't gotten back into baseball since the mid-90s.
The strike?
I can't watch it.
It's the second,
really?
Right. It was the strike or the lockout. Whichever one happened second. Because it was like 3 years apart.
I don't remember.
Because that was when I wanted to be a baseball player as a kid.
Oh, well, the strike was 94. Was there a lockout after that?
I can't remember which one was first. They were too close together. But,
can't recall.
94 would have been the second one. Because I remember there was the first one because I didn't understand it, and because I was a kid, I didn't understand. It's like, why aren't we playing baseball?
That was fun.
Why aren't we playing baseball? What's going on here? Why aren't we playing baseball? I love baseball. That's all I wanted, and I didn't understand it. Like, I don't understand contract agreements and conversation, all that kind of bullshit.
That's why you hired me.
Well, I was 10.
So?
Okay. You were
He was thinking about law.
But
I'm sure it would have been fine.
But so I've still never forgiven really? Baseball for it. And
wow, man, do you hold a grudge?
I mean, and as the world turns, it's not. I don't know. Like I've been to a handful of games, been to a couple of Smoky games, and going to games is fun. I will go to games in this new stadium if it happens, when it happens. Excuse me. But I don't. I don't seek out baseball like I did when I was a kid. But I'm curious how the soccer team is going to go. Like, I'm curious if people are going to show up and actually check it out. And
I'm going to go.
Let's
go together.
Is it one FC?
I'm curious if we've had a consistent team and we're just transitioning into this, or if we.
I'm under the impression that it is a new.
Because I went to one game when it was the Knoxville Forest, but that was 7 or 8 years ago.
Right. I was under the impression that this is a new entity that has just been created. That's the feeling I got from it. I emailed him. I asked him to come on the show.
I mean, we were playing in some league. The game I went to saw, we played against a team from Chattanooga.
I'll tell you what. I've been watching
some kind of regional league that it was up against.
I've been watching Ultimate Frisbee.
Yeah.
I could see that being pretty fun to watch, like in person, and paying bills for it. Like it's. I mean, if you're into athleticism and stuff like that, and want to see people that are athletic and doing cool athletic stuff, Ultimate's got it.
It can't be possibly any more boring than golf.
Mm-hmm. No, it is absolutely not more boring than golf. Yes.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
Ooh, that was a sentence I just put out.
We had too many double negatives there. No, I would definitely watch it before I'd watch pro golf for sure.
I see golf and NASCAR are Sunday afternoon. It's on, and I fall asleep and watch 5 minutes, fall back asleep. Like that is where golf lies in my life.
I always catch up on the highlights. Like, who's winning? Oh,
right.
Okay, cool.
Oh, every NASCAR race can be seen in 7 minutes. Here's all the wrecks. Here's who won. The end.
Yeah. Although I'll tell you what, this year NASCAR's done some cool stuff.
They have. It's been a lot more fun this year.
I think the dirt race in Bristol was cool. I think they've like
road races.
They've done like 7 or 8 road races or something like that.
That's been kind of cool.
Road races.
They've tried. They've actually tried this year.
And they got windshield wipers on the cars.
Windshield wipers.
What?
We can drive in the rain now.
They run
what
the rain.
Would have thought?
They'll run in a little rain, not a ton.
Yeah, let's not get crazy. But yeah, no, they've at least tried this year, and that's been appreciated.
And so I don't know, but on the sport conversation, I'm excited to get in football, and I think I might enjoy UT football better this year because I don't have any expectations. I'm not even.
We should.
I think 6. I think Vegas number is 6 is right. I can't pick over under. Like, it is such a good number to me that I don't know. Like, looking at the schedule, I think 6 is pretty good.
Well, who are the cream puffs this year? Who do we start with?
Like Bowling Green.
Bowling Green, yeah, I heard that. And who are the other, non-teams we play?
Let's see.
I mean, we're not going to beat a Florida or an Alabama. I mean,
all right,
of course.
So
not. Tennessee Tech, we should win. We should beat Tennessee Tech.
All right, we start with Bowling Green on a Thursday, then Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, Tennessee Tech, at Florida, at Missouri.
It'll be over after Florida, like it always is.
I mean, I don't know Pittsburgh. I don't know where Pittsburgh's at. That's one of those teams that shows up. Some years they're a team, some years they're not.
Right.
So.
So do we? Oh, never mind. I was looking at the wrong thing. I was saying UTC.
Yeah, that was last year. Last game last year. So I guess if it's left and right, or it's left and right, the way it's a weird reading. I think we're at least 2-2 through the first 4 games. I think the second 4 we might get 1 win.
Maybe. Is Ole Miss supposed to be any good this year?
I don't know.
Some years they're great, and most years they suck. So who knows?
Yeah, and I don't know where Missouri's at either. So
homecoming, we'll win homecoming. Vanderbilt or Kentucky, we should get at least one of those.
Yeah, so that puts us right around 5 or 6. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think 6 is a good number. I think it's an accurate number.
Keep that bar low, and we won't be disappointed.
Yeah, and I think that's I guess that was the point where I was getting started. Is
mediocrity.
So that's what Vegas odds are.
Right. Hey, that's what I've really tried to hone in on the last 10, 12 years, mediocrity. That way I'm not disappointed.
But I mean, I guess that was the point of the whole long diatribe about the quality of the product that is college football anymore. Is that if you, unless you are in a conference that doesn't matter,
right,
or you are
ACC,
you're. I mean, because the ACC is awful except for
Clemson.
Now, I'm curious if Notre Dame's going to stay in the ACC this year. Because they joined the ACC last year just so they could play because they didn't have a conference and it was only conference play because of COVID shit.
Right.
So I'm curious if they're going to stay. And so that made ACC a little bit more relevant because they had Notre Dame, who is a consistently overranked team, but they were good last year.
Right, I was going to say, back in 2013.
Been a TV team.
Right.
But so Alabama killed them.
Yeah, but so you got ACC that's, you got an ACC that there's no real league there. It's just Clemson. I mean, and really, if you're going to be honest about it, the SEC anymore, as much as their medium is better than everybody else's medium, the SEC anymore is Alabama and Georgia. And then
Sometimes.
Georgia who can't ever cross the finish line, but Georgia who looks like
Georgia tries.
Looks like a national championship caliber team until week 10.
Until they fail.
Right. But that's what the SEC is anymore. That's the reality of it.
Yep.
And I mean, and again, you go outside of the ACC and the SEC, what? Pac-12?
Who watches that shit?
I mean, Big Ten.
Big
Ten is at least a little bit more compact in that they have 5, 6 schools that actually compete.
Very predictable. I mean, Michigan's going to lose to Ohio State.
Right.
Death taxes and that.
But you have Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Iowa, and at least Iowa in the last couple of years has become a more relevant school. Penn State.
Yeah, like
Penn State.
Penn State used to be a powerhouse.
Yeah. I think I led with Ohio State.
No, it said pedophile state.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, why do they even still have a team?
Yeah.
Notwithstanding.
But just through that quick one, that's 6 of their 12 schools, even though they're Big Ten, that are relevant functional teams. So I think realistically, the best conference in football is Big Ten, as far as competitive conference. Right. I think overall there are more schools that are better in the SEC, but we have Alabama. So
you left out the Sun Belt. MTSU, come on.
Yeah.
I mean,
UT Chat and
gotta be. I mean, that
Appy State.
Oh yeah, I mean that's big time.
No, Appy State's coastal.
Are they?
Yeah. Something coastal. Whatever. I don't. There was an App State athletics bus sitting on the end of the street.
They did well years ago. They like upset. It was
Michigan.
Like SET.
Oh, it was Michigan.
Yeah, right. They a clock expiring field goal to win to beat Michigan, and they were still in Division II at that time. They're Division I school now, but
they were. Okay.
They were a Division II school when that happened, but that propelled them into being a Division I school essentially.
You guys beat Michigan. You guys can come play with.
You got to play the big leagues and lose. But I don't know. You
can be the loser in our league.
Right. You can win against nobody, or you can lose against everybody. Those are your options.
Hobbesian choice.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So I don't know. Last call, I guess. Anything else?
So what are we going to do this, talking about the race, we're talking about our local judges and all that. That sounds kind of fun. Well, at least for me.
I mean, it'll be, they can't even officially pick up their petitions to run until November or December.
I can hardly wait.
There are already people that have, I haven't heard judges specifically, but there are already a number of people that have announced their run for the 22.
So would these be judges that are trying to step up into another role?
No. These are circuit court, general sessions court, and chancery court. Maybe probate and juvenile as well. I can't recall. But anyway, they're going to be either running to retain their judgeship or challenge, the sitting judge. So no, they're not moving up. Just a matter of keeping your seat or getting a new seat. So they're 8-year terms.
So the people challenging would be wanting to maybe step up.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go from lawyer to judge or from lower, general sessions court judge up to circuit or chancery court, then yes.
Okay.
But we're not going to like the court of appeals.
Where the challengers would be coming from.
Yeah, the lawyers. Yep.
Which I would assume that most lawyers probably make more than a judge would make?
I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know what our state court trial judges make. I mean, I would suspect they make less than federal court judges. I mean, you could look it up. I mean, it should be public record. I don't know though.
But I can't spell. It's gonna be.
I think I saw where our general sessions court judges make a little bit over 100,000, maybe like 125 or so. Gudge.
Told you I can't spell.
It's all right.
All right, guy. General Sessions guy.
You dude,
Supreme Court Chief Justice.
Judges, 171.
Okay, what does that say?
No,
I can't read that.
That's a Tennessee Supreme Court. Let's see.
Oh, 182.
Okay, I didn't see shit.
Chief judges, judges. Okay, that's just on the court of appeal. Yeah, as far as trial courts, I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I agree that you're probably correct. Here you go. State judicial budget, $141 million.
Okay. That doesn't sound wrong.
Intermediate. Here you go. Circuit Chancery trial courts, 161 across the board.
Chief judge, 174.
Circuit, 161.
Judges, 171.
Okay, so they make probably about 20% less than a federal magistrate judge makes. So, but I mean, still, you're doing okay. I mean, that's probably higher than your average lawyer.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think your average lawyer these days in Tennessee probably makes maybe 65, maybe your average.
But you're not average.
I'm below average, obviously.
So you pay too many fucking taxes.
Exactly. That's my whole.
But so yeah, that'll come up. We should start getting actual names, official names in December. I think the cutoff's early February. That's when to turn in. You go and you pick up a petition, and that's a document, and it says Jamie picked up petition to run for X.
Oh, no one vote for me.
But I'm just saying, then in February you have to turn it back in, and then you have a week to change your mind after you turn your petition in.
Yeah, I'd love to come back on here and talk about the judicial races.
I'd love to understand them better, and then have a whole full conversation with you about it as a standalone, and then start trying to call them in and get interviews with them and talk to them about it.
For sure.
And if you want to sit in on those and help out, that'd be super cool.
I would enjoy that.
Because would be again, it's like I want to know what I'm actually voting for, what the actual job is that they do when they get there.
Yep. It's an important job, for sure.
Right, but it is probably less paid attention to than school board.
Yeah. Probably is,
which is I forget about.
And the school board gets terrible.
That we have a federal court here in Knoxville for our Eastern District.
It's true.
Yep, and you can't bring your phone inside.
Oh, I can.
Well, I can't.
I've got a letter on file.
I want to see you special.
No, not really.
All right, good night, everybody. That was the show. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we did it. We did a show. We are Almost in Agreement. You can email us at almostinagreement@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Go to our website, almostinagreement.com. You can catch all the episodes there, or you can log into your favorite podcast provider and get us there as well. While you're at your places, please subscribe, share, like, retweet, friend, whatever it is that the thing does that lets the server at least know that you care, and that helps push us up on the list of things to do. So we discussed city races. Elections are going on right now. Early elections happening. City races. almostinagreement.com/city races 21. That's my quick cheat sheet. You can go in there, get a link to KGIS, and that link to KGIS, like for Jamie here, you can get on there and it tells you what district you actually live in and stuff like that. So you can learn all sorts of information. It tells you your polling locations and stuff like that too. There's also a link to the Knox County Election Commission where you can figure out the early voting locations, rules, and stuff like that. It's too late to register if you haven't already, so that part's a pass. So anyway, we're almost in agreement. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great night.